Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And as always, it goes without saying, we've got a packed show in store for you. We're going to be talking Whitecaps, we're going to be talking MLS, Euros, Canada national team, maybe even a little bit of Copa America thrown in if we've got time. We'll see how all that goes. Regular listeners will know that we're starting off all our weekend shows though with the gift that keeps on giving. Zach is ripping his open just now. It's Steve's Christmas present to us, a 2011 Upper Deck pack of cards. We're opening a pack a week, and Steve sadly wasn't on the show with us last week, so you don't know this, Steve. Mm-hmm. I pulled out Alex Morgan.
Oh, wow.
It turns out...
We started Googling, Steve. You told us not to.
And it turns out Alex Morgan, that was her rookie card, and it's going for 3 figures.
No, yeah, I knew there was one. There's a couple cards in there that was very valuable. I think I mentioned that when I first I mentioned the Alex Morgan card at that time.
So I got that. So I don't know if that's going to be in Zach's later one as well, but obviously it's straight up on eBay. So
It's not a guarantee that you get one in every box.
Oh,
we just haven't hit any doubles yet.
No, it's very odd, but I'm quite happy.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's see what we've got in this pack.
Better selection than shoppers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to start off with, so it says midfield forward, but I know him more as a midfielder. It's his card from Sporting Kansas City. I think he's wearing the Wiz, but we probably know him here in Cascadia better for being a Portland Timber. You have this card, Michael. It's Jack Dewsbury.
Oh, I've had a quick flick through mine. I might have a double in this, or I might just be mixing it up with ones that you've got. I've got all my cards upstairs at the moment, but we're going to start off with a sounder. He is a defender, had previously been with the Earthquakes, James Riley.
Oh, you do have him, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, he wasn't one of the ones that I thought was a double, so that's not good.
I think this is not a double for me, but this is someone actually in your starting 11. He started off as a fullback and he moved into the middle. Played for this card's with Colorado Rapids. Played for Toronto FC. It's Marvell Wynn.
Oh yes, he's in my 11.
He's in the snow.
Don't lose your nut, Steve. It's Sporting KC's Jimmy Nielsen.
Oh yeah, you have that one.
Oh no, I could have a few doubles in this pack then.
Well, then we can trade maybe.
If I had that card, I'd get it autographed by Craig McEwen.
Michael, I think you have this guy. This is a guy who I'm gonna have to give a think about my starting 11. He could replace Juan Pablo Angel. This is from Real Salt Lake. It's Alvaro Saborio.
Yeah.
Oh, did you put him in?
I didn't put him in. So he's yours if you want him. My next card, Columbus Crew defender with their old logo, the Men at Work kind of YMCA guys. Defender, Andy Iro.
Oh, nice. I can't remember if you had this one last week, Michael, or not. This is from the Boston Breakers defender Jordan Agnelli.
My next one, DC United. Forward, Santino Caranta.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Santino Morello.
That'd be a weird one to have in the pack.
I think I need to go put on those like gloves when you hold the Stanley Cup because I have the card we were just talking about. It's Alex Morgan.
Oh, you got one too. Fantastic.
Oh, wow. Let's
I
get
really
them up
wish I
on
bought a
eBay.
box.
We'll get a couple of hundred each for it. That'll pay us for our flights to cover Canada later on in the year. And we'll send a postcard to Steve. But thanks for, as I said, it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's paying for our future endeavours. My penultimate card, it's another defender. Houston Dynamo, Mike Chabala.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I have that one.
I would get a sleeve though for those Alex Morgan cards.
Oh, I've already put a sheath on her.
This one you had last week, I'm sure, because we were looking it up, talking about it. This is I think a left fullback. Well, it says he played left mid, left fullback. Ramiro Corrales from San Jose Earthquakes.
Oh. Now, I don't know if I've got this card or you've got this card. I think it's you, but it might also be me, which would be a double. It's her favourite, or one of her favourite sounders to abuse at Swan Guard Stadium. It's Roger Levesque.
Oh, yeah, I have him.
Ah, good, it's not my double then. I might have a double in there, I'll have to check.
But I can't complain. I got Alex Morgan.
Yes. Excellent.
And maybe Saborio on my team.
If we're lucky, we might get some other Alex Morgan doubles in our pack. Anyway, that is it for our cards.
Then we'd have one for Steve.
Yeah. If we do get a double, we'll give Steve one.
That's a highly undone. I can't believe you got one in each of them. That was surprising.
I was shocked, Steve, when I know you said you got a good deal, but I was shocked when I saw how much these boxes were going for.
Yeah, I was too. I thought maybe that there was like a special edition or something like that, but I don't think they are. I think
there are different kinds of boxes for this season, but this box I've looked it up and it's several $100. I think the lowest was $150, but it goes up to like, I don't know, $350 or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
And part of it's because part of the selling point is the Alex Morgan card.
As I mentioned to Caitlin a lot, because regular listeners to the show will know that I am a collector of memorabilia, it's only worth what people are prepared to pay for it.
Right.
So we can say, I've got this card that's worth a couple of $100. If no one wants to pay it, it's really not. But somebody might want to pay over the odds. Of course, getting a little signature on that somewhere along the line would increase it greatly. So I'll see if I can work on that. But that is it for our football cards. We won't go into that too much. We've got a packed football show to get into. Sadly, though, we have to start by talking about the Whitecaps.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I feel we have to, because then it's only uphill after that. That's how I'm looking at my basis of the show. We were wondering how they would be after their long break, 27 days away from the action. Would they be comfortable with a stadium now that they're playing in, used to the altitude against a team that always plays there? Would they come out of the blocks sluggish, as we've seen in previous years, like that Montreal game at BC Place that we always hark back to? We didn't know what to expect. Well, we soon found out, because the first half was a pretty dreadful performance by the Whitecaps. The opening few minutes in particular, I thought were absolutely dreadful by them. They were giving the ball up. Max Crepeau had to make a couple of big saves. They looked better in the second half. They probably could even have gone ahead in the game. Ended up, though, losing 3-1. We won't delve too much into the game. More stuff coming out of the game and where to go next, I think. But before we get into it, it's a 3-1 loss. Leaves the Whitecaps second bottom or joint bottom, depending on how pessimistic you want to be in the Western Conference standings after the weekend's results. Steve, let's start with you. What's your overall thoughts? What did you make of this one?
It seemed like they're struggling to find the form. It just didn't seem like they were on it right off the bat. It would seem very well, but since the beginning of the season, they've never been that great to start off a game. So it was kind of this very similar to what they were doing all year long. And it looked like they were going to be able to, by the end of it, get away with a point, kind of like steal a point. Obviously, just once again, even though they might not have deserved it, it was still a lot of bad luck there, especially on that game-winning goal. Bad luck and plus obviously poor defending. You can't really let in a throw in from into the box, get into the net. So yeah, just overall, just really disappointing considering where they were at that 90th minute mark.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. It was a break that it's happened when Copa America's on, the Euros are on. There's a lot of exciting football to watch. It was a little bit hard to get up for watching this game, and at the end of it, Zach, it just left me wishing that the break was longer. And right now, this is not a fun team to watch. Never mind have to analyse it in a show afterwards. And it's probably a good job that your card opening helper Kirk isn't here tonight, because there could be swearing in this show as we go over some of the stuff. But I mean, what did you make of it all?
Well, we've described these last few weeks of the month of June as a feast of football. And sometimes when you're at a feast, sometimes like you eat too much, like you should have stopped a little bit earlier.
Yes. And
yesterday was a day of 6 games. If you watch 3 Euro games and 2 Copa America games, and then the Whitecaps have finished it off. And so it was, there was definitely a feeling at the end of it that, I could have done without this one. I had my football fill. I had some quality dishes, and didn't really need them.
And then dessert came, and not only was it disappointing, it left you feeling sick afterwards.
Yeah, that I think that kind of sums it up.
That's a very good analogy. I like that.
If I would say it was a dessert, it would be like a sugar-free dessert. Like, what was the point?
Oh yes. Or I bought a gluten-free scone once. It was the worst baked good I've ever bought in my life. I thought I would try it, but
in one sense, it was disappointing. In another sense, it wasn't surprising. I think you called a 3-1 or 2-1 game. I called a 2-1 game. Steve wasn't here, but we know he would have said 2-1 to the Whitecaps.
No. I actually didn't think they were going to. They've never had a good outing after a long break like that. I would have definitely sought a loss on that one for sure.
I've got to say,
I'm serious. I'm not just trolling. I probably during the show I would have trolled for sure. But honestly, I would have expected to for them to lose this game.
The Montreal after World Cup game is what you always comes to mind, right, Steve?
Yeah.
This was the RSL after Euros game.
It was during Euros.
Yeah. But the game itself, I mean, it started off terribly for the Whitecaps. If it wasn't for Max Crepeau, we could have been 2 down in the opening 10 minutes. It was a makeshift defence. You've got Bruno Gaspar, you've got Jake Nerwinski out injured. Before the game started, I was actually in a confident mood. I'm putting that down to being buoyed by Scotland getting a point against England. And I was like, I changed my tune. I thought maybe it's going to be 2-1 to the Whitecaps. After the first couple of minutes, I was like, foolish me being optimistic about that. But it was a makeshift backline in ways, but they were just getting burned. Javane Brown picked up a booking 3 minutes in, which initially I thought was harsh, and then I saw the replay and I was like, oh no, yeah, that's a fair booking for a wild kick at a knee. But, I mean, the Whitecaps eventually settled, and it wasn't an overly exciting game, but then it sprung to life 2 minutes before the interval. The danger man, we've talked about him so much this season when we've been doing our MLS recaps. We know he's the guy that the Whitecaps had to pay close attention to. Damir Krylak, lovely little backheel. I think it was Rusnak that backheeled it straight into his path, edge of the box. Low shot. It took a deflection of Godoy that sent that the wrong way from where Max Crepeau was diving. Nice touch afterwards. Max was consoling Godoy, who looked very upset by it. So, I mean, it's good to see that they were upset by it in a kind of perverse way, if you know what I mean. But, I mean, you felt it was kind of coming. And I don't think it was a surprise that RSL went into the break with a lead. The nature of it was maybe the most surprising part of it.
Yeah, he's the danger. He's like the danger man in that side, and they didn't do well enough to close him down. We were texting about this or messaging about this. I'm still somewhat shocked that Rusnak is not with the Czech Republic at the Euros. It feels like he's a player they could use, if not necessarily as a starter, but definitely in their side at this tournament. So RSL is really fortunate to have their most consistent and quality creator in their team to help them the way they did in this match.
It was such a clever back heel, Steve. It's like he didn't look, he just knew Krylach was there. And that's the kind of chemistry we can just hope to eventually have in the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and that's where, like you said, they've been working together for a long time. You can't really buy that off the transfer market, that kind of chemistry, that kind of consistency.
Just
and that's where and that's where you have to have like somebody come in and them spend time together. Like the whole notion of buying and selling and everything, that does work, and you should be doing that. But you got to have some consistency where you have people that are committed to the club for multiple years, where where the other guy's going to be. And these two guys have it for sure, in addition to a few others. And the thing is, other teammates feed off that when they see that, and they kind of get an idea of what these guys are at. So it kind of spreads throughout the whole team when you have two players that are connected so well.
And that's one of the things we've talked about with a club like RSL in the past. They build in such a way that they have a significant group of players stick around to build that chemistry, to know who they are, to know how each other plays. And I think you're right, Steve. I think this was an example of that paying off.
Well, if you look at some of the teams that's really successful so far this season, Seattle got your core, Portland got your core, Colorado got your core, Philadelphia in the East. And I mean, listening to Axel on the show last week, he said at the end of the season, they'll review the guys that they brought in 2 years ago, see if they've met the standards that they need, if they need to improve upon them, strengthen them, make the necessary changes, indicating there likely would be changes. So once again, you're like moving folk on and switching folk in and out. And sometimes it works by bringing the new guys in. Whitecaps, it certainly worked because their new boy, getting his first start up front for the Caps, Brian White, tied things up in the 54th minute. Now, let's be honest, he didn't have a great first half. Mark DeSantis said afterwards that he felt that White was maybe a little bit nervous. He definitely had some poor touches. At the same time, he was like on an island. There was just no service to him. He must have been wondering exactly, what have I come to? I can't get the ball. It's like he's a guy that thrives in the 6-yard box, much like what MDS said when we spoke to him, that he wants Cava to do. Like he wants Cava to be in and around the 6-yard box. And to do that, you've got to get the service into the box. This time the service came in. Great ball in from Javain Brown. White knocked it in, aided by Aaron Herrera. It kind of obviously came off him. I'd have put it down as an own goal, but it's been given to Brian White. Great to get off to a start like that. It was a great goal, but the ball in from Brown, Zach, was just tremendous.
You have to give plaudits to Brown for the quality of his pass. This was a goal, right, that in our chat I felt was offside, right?
Yeah, I did as well initially. I've watched it back today and I was kind of looking where the feet were, and White was onside.
Yeah, and
very close, but yeah.
And it was a bad camera angle too. If that's the one they were using for the review, that was a bad camera angle.
Oh, on a side note, maybe unrelated, maybe not. Do you know how to get marker pen off a 4K TV screen? I was drawing my lines and I used the wrong pen.
We were having this debate in our chat about how some goals are called back and some aren't, and what that looks like. Because that goal to me I don't in certain places in the world. I think would have been called back because it's not just where your feet are. They use the lines to draw a line down. I think you've seen it at the Euro.
Yeah, it's a
You've seen the
place that
Bundesliga.
if it's a part of the body that can score. Now, from me looking at it, it looks like it was just his arms that were more offside, maybe a shoulder, but his feet were definitely behind the guy.
Yes,
But you're talking inches.
Yeah, and so what they use though is I think it's the armpit. I don't think the arm counts. I think it's here, and it just look offside. I've seen goals like that called back, and they show this is where they show where.
Yeah, but MLS doesn't use the lines at all. They don't.
And
use
Howard
the lines
Webb said they definitely will not be using that.
and I think that's got a lot to do with the marketing of the league because they do want goals too. They don't want to be calling back goals that much, so they will give a goal as much as they can. And even like you mentioned before, own goals. If it like a lot of Americans will not understand what the hell an own goal is. Like in ice hockey, when a goal goes off anybody, it's whoever the last player to touch it on the team that scored will get that credit for that goal. So that's usually out there. So maybe they're doing the same thing like this. But if it's not clear, I don't think they'll ever.
Well,
do
yeah, that was what I was going to say, Zach. It's like it wasn't clear and obvious either way, so you've got to go with what the referee says on the pitch.
But that's why with VAR, and that's why in some of these other places around the world, and I understand why MLS. I agree with you, Steve. MLS might not want to do that because they might want more goals. I could totally see that being one of the rationale for it, and cost, and maybe there's technology that you need that's added to that. But to me, like. If you talk about clear and obvious, you want to know, was it onside or offside? And this is aside from the debate of do we really want to be calling things back for a toenail and whatever, like that's a different discussion. But if you want to just know, is it right? Then that's why you use things like lines, you use things like technology to decipher. And I don't know, to me, it looked like in many places around the world that would have been called back. I can't remember exactly how it went in though, because for a goal to be an own goal, what has to happen is it's if the original shot or the last touch from the offensive team, if that touch is not going onto the frame and goes off of a defending player, and that takes it into net, that's how it's an own goal. So I think White's might be right because I think his touch was going towards the frame and it hit the guy and went in.
I would say his touch was. If it had just kept unhindered, it would have gone probably into the back far corner.
Yeah. So then
it hit off I think the guy's thigh and then just went in.
Then my original assessment was wrong, and he should be credited with the goal.
But I mean, the thing about White is we spoke when they signed him. He's a guy that is what I have been crying out for many years for the Caps. We had one in Kai Kamara. A guy that can score in MLS. We had one in Freddie Montero, a guy that can score in MLS. But there's been years where we've missed that. We definitely could have done with having more MLS experience in the squad in recent years. I think White is going to be a good addition, but we'll come to him again a little bit later on in this section. But that made it 1-1, and then I was quite confident the Whitecaps were going to get something out of this. Andy Rose crashed one off the bar. Javane Brown had a couple of headers that went wide. All of those coming from corners, which is still clearly the big threat that the Whitecaps have.
One was a free kick.
Oh,
Andy Rose one was a free kick. But basically,
set piece, but yeah.
Set piece, yeah.
But then the breakthrough didn't come, so it was tied at 1. And then the incident that MDS feels was one of the big turning points of the game. Late on, Christian Gutierrez gets an injury. The update on that is it's a rib contusion. Oh. And he's day-to-day, but he's feeling a lot better. Whether it might be too soon to throw him into the game on Wednesday, I don't know. We need him. We miss him. We clearly saw we missed him when he went off. So he got injured. He tried to carry on. He couldn't go on. So he was taken off. Initially, Russell Tybert came on to fill at left back. I was like, oh no, this is not good. Mark obviously thought the same. and then brought on Derek Cornelius to be at left back, which I was more comfortable with.
And with Russell in front of him.
Yeah. Until the third goal. But anyway, we'll come to that, because let's get to the second goal first. So the game goes into stoppage time. I'm thinking, probably a share of the points. Both teams still maybe confident they could get something from it. But it was RSL. 2 minutes into stoppage time, Aaron Herrera, he's got a fucking long throw. He's got a fucking long throw. And I love that. I've spoken about it before. It's a much underused Route 1 technique that I just love because it's so hard to defend against.
The old West Knight Rory Delap special.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you have what was that team in the lower leagues that the guy
Washington
flipped?
Crossfire.
Yeah, Washington Crossfire. And then the circus music.
I don't like the flips. That takes it a step too far. That's the kind of guy in Scottish football that would then be nailed the next time he was on the ball by some hard midfielder.
But if he doesn't do the flips, then you can't do the circus music.
True.
I prefer the flip. I want the flip from the other team. I don't want it from my own team, but I want the flip from the other team.
MDS said after the game that they knew that Herrera had this threat, so they had been practicing defending it all week in training. Did not look like that on the actual pitch. As the ball comes in, the guy that ends up flicking it in, Eric Holt, he's got Michael Baldissimo in front of him, and he's got Derek Cornelius behind him. Now, I was curious when I watched it back this morning because the height difference was considerable between Holt and Baldy. There is 7 inches. Holt is taller than Baldy, 17 centimetres for those that work in that. We all know size is important. 7 inches in particular for a header, especially when a guy can really jump, because I don't know that I've seen Michael Baldissimo jump a lot, I have to say. Why he was in front of him and it wasn't Cornelius, I don't know. But it wasn't the most strong flick.
Well,
but
Baldissimo was ahead of somebody in an earlier incident too. I think it might have been a corner. So that wasn't the first time it happened. But to me, that corner, that header, obviously it was almost identical to Andy Rose's when Andy Rose flicked it backwards as well off the bar. For me, that's just I know it's not going to sound like bitterness or anything, but it's very like lucky. It's a lucky header.
Yeah, it could go.
It's
anywhere.
a lucky header. It could have gone anywhere. He wasn't aiming for anything. He just got it. And then Jermaine Brown with the if he had been covering the corner, because if you're using this as a corner, treating it like a corner and training like a corner, you should have somebody at the back post for those kinds of incidents. So,
Jermaine Brown tried to get there as quick as he could, but he couldn't.
Yeah, it was like a failed bicycle attempt to clear it.
I mean, he gave his effort there. I thought he did as good as he could have. And he was close. But the Baldy thing, the positioning and stuff, do you think that has to do with how they? I mean, because I agree. Like MDS was talking about how they practice these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that has to do with their flexible zonal marking thing, where they want a shorter guy, kind of more near that front or something? Like I'm just trying to make sense of it.
I don't know.
I feel like Baldy was there just to nag him, and basically just get in the way so he couldn't move forward and get the header on, just to impede his progress. Whereas Cornelius was there to maybe like block the header if he did get his head on it or something like that.
But the other thing as well, like if Cornelius is playing left back, why is he in the middle of the box and there's a couple of folk?
Because he's taller. I think that's the main thing. He's taller and he could maybe get into the head.
So if he'd been in front, he could have risen and got the head and knocked it away, and we'd be having a whole different show that we'd be talking about. I mean, it was gut wrenching. I was like,
You know, they were extremely disappointed. You know, the coaching staff would have been just livid and frustrated to concede a goal like that at that time.
Very long wait for Mark to come out for his post game.
Yeah,
about a good half hour almost.
And he went on and on. I think or multiple times he referenced the fact of like, look, we would have liked to have been able to play like even Brown at left back because he has experience at left back. But you have two other right backs who are injured. Your secondary left back got injured in the game, and your starting left back is with the national team and not able to enter the country you're playing in.
Yeah.
So their options were really, really, really limited. In retrospect, in a 1-1 road game where I think taking a point would have been a positive, I really think I think if Mark was to do it again, I think he would have brought in Derek Cornelius right away and allowed that to maybe settle.
Yeah, Rusty had been stripped, so Rusty was coming on for someone at that
Someone
point.
else.
Oh,
Yeah,
he was coming on from Kyle because they
Yeah,
actually held
yeah.
the board up,
Yeah.
which surprised me because I thought if the board was up, then that was like then set.
No, they change it all the time. Yeah.
But I mean that was gut wrenching. I had no hopes then of them getting back into it. I didn't see them conceding another one, I've got to say. But beautiful header, Krylak again. It was a great header, but it was also an absolutely beautiful ball in from the Iraqi that is allowed to play games in America, Justin Miram.
He has a green card, right?
Yeah, he does.
He's born. I think he's born in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Born in the USA. The thing with Miram as well is, of course, he has been in the league for a long time. And as great as his ball was into the box, the defending on the goal I thought was pretty shocking from the Whitecaps' point of view. Rusty was left with two men. He had Herrera in front of him, he had Miram out wide. So obviously you're going to close down the guy that's on the ball. And then as soon as he takes a step forward to do that, Herrera plays the ball out to Miram. Cornelius somehow had been sucked into the middle out of position, and it just Miram had acres of space, whipped it into the box. Krylak at the back, unmarked, header in. It's just one of those goals, Steve. You don't want to give up, but at least thankfully it wasn't what cost the game in the end. It was over.
Yeah,
by
I think
that point.
the game was done and dusted at that point. And the thing is, I think the Arc was really trying to push hard to get the ball back, to push the ball, and that's I think why he got sucked out, because they were just. It's basically the whole thing about getting stretched out once you're down a goal late in the game. You just try and do everything you can, and the other team, RSL, took advantage of that, of them trying to get the ball back.
Again, Krylak is so lethal, and he's a difference maker. And he won them the match.
Yep.
You know, he got a brace, open the scoring, and sealed the game at the death.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing in the end. It was maybe what we were expecting when we did the show last week, but I feel they could have got something out of this. They probably should have got something out of it. Martin Santos was quite upbeat at times, I kind of thought, in the post-game press conference. Fairly happy with aspects of the performance. Let's just hear a little bit now from both head coaches. So first of all, we're going to hear from RSL's Freddie Juarez, and then we'll hear from the Whitecaps' Mark DeSantis.
Yeah, first, the group responded well. I think as a whole, they kept going. Maybe 25 minutes there, Vancouver was very good in the start of the second half with everything, and we caught us a little off guard, which shouldn't happen, but it does, right? The opponent at times just gets the momentum, and they come at you, and they have nothing to lose. They're chasing the game. And then we put ourselves in those positions, and credit to Merrim, credit to Eric, who came in, and Everton. I thought they added energy to the group. And then I felt like we were giving trouble with the long throwing on Aaron's side since the beginning of the game. And, there when you get towards the end of the game, you obviously throw a little more numbers up. And Eric put himself in a good spot. And like you said, I'm so excited for him, happy for him. He's, put himself there, got a game winner in an important time and get us to 3 points, which right now is very important. I'm happy for the group. I'm happy for Albert. I thought he had a very good game, gave a great assist to Demir. I'm happy for Demir. That guy's a goal-scoring machine, puts himself in. We talked to him about it, get yourself in the finishing phase. That's where you're the most dangerous. That's where he's a player that puts a lot of responsibility on himself, and he was just in great attacking positions today. But I'm happy for the guys. This is one of those culture building, team building type of games where you do well and then the opponent responds, and then you kind of get into like a little, sparring, boxing match, and it's just back and forth. It's not pretty, and then the response of the guys. That's where you build and you develop as a team. You figure out, now we know there's belief that if you get caught in moments like that, you can still win a game. And it's fantastic to see that. I'm super excited for the guys. They deserved it. They've been training hard. When people talk about there was a big break, there's a break psychologically, and you get to slow down things. But the guys keep grinding. The work they put in and training in this heat that came in the last 7 days. It's not easy for either team. For Vancouver, and I'm sure their coach is happy as well with their effort. But it's not easy for the players, and it was fantastic to see them pushing towards the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I think the game was a very equal game until that injury time moment. I think when we felt that when it was 1-1 and we were able to get that goal with Brian, that we would be able to bring more energy from the bench also, and be able maybe to find the 2-1. The injury of Guti destabilized a little bit what we wanted to do, because then we didn't have a natural left back. We had with Bruno out and Jake out, we had to be careful with our shape there. We brought Rusty first and then Derek to close that left side, because it's more difficult to play with Rusty as a left back in a back four because of the diagonal balls they have in the second post. That's why we wanted to cover that. Then what's disappointing is the way they get the 2-1 is in a play that we were very aware. We worked a lot. Everybody knew that was coming. We defended a couple of them. They were not able to break us and get dangerous shots in the second half. But then that ball from the throw-in is disappointing. Even again, when it was 1-1, I felt that we just smelled that maybe it would be 2-1 for us. Even Andy, I think it's the crossbar in a set play. Javane has a great chance in the second post. It's too bad to concede, especially the goal in that throw-in that changed the game. We knew the first half would be average. Everybody coming back from three weeks. We had a tough time and the pressure from the front. But then, we were slowly able to grow into the game. If you look, even their first goal comes from a transition moment that we just don't take the right decision in the final third. It's an excellent chance for us. And then from our transition, they come and they get a goal off a deflection. And then in the second half, we were able to adjust some things. We were able to build. We were able to have possession, to press better from the front. So we were seeing growth. And then when we do the 1-1, I just felt the team had the 2-1 in them.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
So the gaffer's there, just chatting about the game. Now, one thing that Mark said after the game, Zach, was he expected the first half to be average after 4 weeks off. Aside from the implications from the heat, I didn't. I thought they would be a bit more upbeat and intense, but you're setting your expectations pretty low if you're expecting the first half to be average.
It's an odd comment, especially in light of looking at the first 7 games of the season, when the start to each match was an issue. So I don't mind him thinking that or talking about that with his coaches, but it felt like an awkward public thing to say because everyone understands you've been on a break, so it might be tough to get back. But because you know that, you should be preparing extra hard to come out guns blazing or come out very, very strong in terms of your following through on your tactical game plan.
Well, and they had their friendly last week as well. So
yeah, to boost the morale, 4-0.
Yeah. It was just disappointing. I mean, that's the thing, Steve. Still, through 8 games, still no goals in the first half. it's concerning. Yes, if they turn it on the second, that's great, but you can't always rely on that. I mean, they're having to come back in the second halves of games if they've conceded in the first. Late lapses also a worry. So it's not looking great at the moment.
No, it's basically a slog right now for them to try to get this turned around. It's gonna and it's not gonna get any easier too, because the games are coming fast and furious, as you know, like they're playing on Wednesday. For me, this was like they're hanging on to like a 1-1 draw and just losing it late. So I think that's maybe why MDS was upbeat, that he knew that they didn't play very well and they still had a chance to get points. And considering how many people they were missing as well from the lineup, both right backs and everything like that. But the fact is that they've dropped their fourth straight game at this point, and they're dropping in the standings right now, where it will be very difficult for them to turn this around and get them back in this, because other teams are just going to be stronger at this point, and they're getting stronger and stronger. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to turn this around as much as possible, so you're not losing more ground in the table.
Yeah, that is a big concern of mine. But we'll actually come to that in a sec when we look ahead to what is to come. But let's look at one of the positives. I thought Javain Brown had a great game. First few minutes, maybe a little bit shaky, kind of settling in and stuff. But I mean, after that, I thought he was one of the standouts. Brian White as well looks like he's a guy that can get goals. What did you make of Brown's performance?
I think.
Go ahead, Zach.
I think he's coming into his own. I think he's proving to be a very good squad player at the bare minimum, and I think that's encouraging. The other thing, which is going to be helpful, particularly where things are at right now in this season, is that he can play on both sides of the back line, because I think they're going to need him
and centre back as well if needed.
Yes.
So
yeah, I don't know. I'd be surprised if we see him at center back this year,
Yeah.
because I think he's going to be so needed, and hopefully there are other options. I mean, when you're playing Andy Rose as center back, it's not like he's going to play ahead of Andy Rose, but yeah, he's going to be needed on both sides, probably in the next few weeks, you would imagine, and at other times this season. So he's been a bright spot, because again, coming out of the draft, we talked about the kind of things that you should expect, and to me already, he's like ahead of expectations, or doing better than expectations, in my opinion.
But he's an unusual draft pick as well, Steve, though, because he's represented his country at senior level, and he's in the provisional Gold Cup roster as well for Jamaica, off his own accord.
Yeah, but maybe don't talk to him about that after a club loss. Did you?
I didn't hear his.
Oh yeah, I can't remember who it was, but yeah, it was. They were asking about his call up to the national team, and he was just like, "I'll focus on that later. Right now, because it's not even a call up; it's an inclusion in the bigger
In the preliminary roster,
preliminary squad." And so he's just like,
Oh.
"Right now, I'm just focused on what happened tonight and trying to get better." Kind of answer. It was a little bit awkward, but those post match press conferences, they've tended to be pretty awkward this season.
Yeah.
But Javain Brown, I think, a lot of people had him pegged as an option, but nobody really had him as a main option, obviously, to start off with. But maybe we were focused a little bit too much on, what was the striker's name? Eto?
David Egbo, yeah.
Egbo.
But we've let go of the Egbo.
Yeah, so he's obviously in the lower leagues on loan right now, but
Well, rumours are that there's international interest from Europe. He may actually be heading overseas.
Oh, we're gonna get another sale in. But the thing is with Javain Brown, in the MLS draft, the thing is, you want a lot of places you want to focus on where you get good talent and good starting players are on the wide areas and at center back, like fullback, wingers, center back. Those are the areas you get a lot of good talent in. Where you can supplement your roster and save, big money for the center midfield spots and the striker spots. So it makes sense that they got him there. Egbo, I can understand why people, because they probably see his physical ability that he's displayed in college, and they're probably thinking he just needs some work in finishing. and maybe a lot of teams look at that physical aspect of him and thinking that they could get a diamond in the rough and bring somebody in at a lower cost.
Moving on to Brian White. Now, I put a kind of a fun little poll for 24 hours up on Twitter, asking who's going to finish this season with the most goals for the Whitecaps between Brian White and Lucas Cavallini. I personally think it's going to be White. The poll, though, 56.2% are sticking with Cavallini, sticking with the Canadian. That surprised me a little bit. I mean, what do you guys think? Let's start with Zach. Who do you think's going to score more goals, White or Cavallini?
I mean, with Cavi, you have to factor in, being away and potentially being away with Canada, missing 2 to let's say 1 to 3 games for suspension. So there's a few variables there with him. The one thing that I found a little bit awkward actually today in Friday night's game was they did a straight swap, right? It was Cava for White, right?
Yes.
Which felt,
and I think they were going to take White off just before he scored because Cavallini was stripped.
It felt. I mean, I guess a 1-1 draw would have been encouraging on the road, but I also hope there's an opportunity to see those two players together. Because I mean, with the 4-4-2 that they were working with, or they were using as their base foundation at the beginning of the season, it would be nice to see them play together. But to answer your question, I guess right now my heart says Cavallini, of course, but my head says White.
The thing is with Cavallini is if they do decide to just go with one striker, I can see him getting more playing time. But Zach is right that he will be away and have the odd suspension as well. So, but overall, I think Cavallini will get more time on the pitch. Now, if they play 2 up top, that might be a different story. Because Cavallini at this point is acting like a playmaker, anyways. So more likely, if they play together, he'll be setting up White for more goals.
But the thing is, as well, you've got 2 players that thrive in being in around the box, the 6-yard box, and we're just not getting the ball into those positions. So that's something that obviously needs worked on. The glaring omission of a number 10 still hangs over it. But I mean, with Brown doing well, with White doing well, should we only sign players that are names of colours? And if so, can we get Sebastian Blanco up from Portland?
Yeah, it sounded like, I think Russell Beresford mentioned it on Twitter that it sounded like a Quentin Tarantino movie, Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
With that goal.
And Rose nearly got on the score sheet as well.
Yeah.
So let's just do our scouting for colourful named players.
Julian Green, American sort of winger attacker who came up through Bayern Munich, is at, I forget now, is it Ingolstadt? He got promoted from maybe the 3rd Bundesliga to the 2nd Bundesliga, or the 2nd Bundesliga to the 1st Bundesliga. I can't remember. But that he would do well in MLS. But I don't think the Whitecaps would pay for him.
I found George Green, who's a 25-year-old midfielder with English non-league side FC Ossett United. So obviously he fits the number 10 that they're looking for, and he's out of contract at the end of June. So cheap. I mean, what could possisly go wrong there?
You tweeted about that, correct?
I did, yes.
And what level was he playing at again?
8th tier of English football, non-league.
Right. So maybe just the right
a step up.
I go with Zach's suggestion before that one.
Yeah, maybe. Right, let's look ahead to the brutal spell that's coming up. LA Galaxy come to Utah on Wednesday, and then that's followed by a trip north. They're getting close to Vancouver because they're going to be playing Seattle at the former Clink. Will they get out of jail? Who can say? But I worry with these 2 games coming up. You're already 5 points back of the playoff spots. A horrible July to come with players away at Gold Cup as well. We seriously risk being cut adrift of the pack by the time we actually make it back to Vancouver, which optimistically is going to be like August 18th. And I think there's like 12 or 13 games to play between now and then. I have a worry that a bad run is coming up? Am I just being too pessimistic now?
Well, at this point, I have the over-under for the end of the season show is going to be mid-August, late August at this point.
What's the earliest it's been in the past, like April or May?
No, not that bad. I think I jokingly had as 1 year. I think start of September, end of August, start of September has been previous years.
Yeah, because I think 1 year, well, that was around the time when Robbo was fired, around that time, end of August or so.
Oh, yeah, and the man that took over from him, Craig Dalrymple, has now joined Inter Miami as their head of their academy down there. So good move for Craig.
Just an update. Julian Green is at Güter Fürth, and they've just been promoted to the Bundesliga. So again, not going to get him, but
not going to get him. But I don't know. Axel's German contacts.
Yeah, those have paid off well, haven't they?
Oh yeah, that was actually what I forgot to ask him. Ah, damn it! That was one of the questions I forgot to ask.
It's okay. I'm sure you'll have another 50 minutes sit down with him at some point.
Yes. My heart says we've got a chance because the Galaxy defence is a little bit woeful, and we'll come to their game tonight against Seattle, where Seattle just shut them out in the second half of that one. But my head says Chicharito's in form. Our defence is all over the place. It could get out of hand. Let's start with you, Steve.
I think if they have a chance in any game in the next bit run up, I think this is the one they have. They have to get points out of this. I think they could, but I wouldn't put any money on on them winning anything at this point.
And this is technically a home game, right?
Yes.
With
fans,
all the Mexican fans that want to come
in Utah
to cheer on Chicharito.
Yeah, I actually agree with Steve in terms of this is a game they really need to get something from. At worst, a draw, but I tend to more so agree with you, Michael, on that. It's going to be a problem match for them, and I think it's not just LA, it's not just the fans or whatever. I think Greg Vanney will be able to prepare his players and put them out in a tactical way to take advantage of Vancouver.
It is sweltering in Utah just now, so that could maybe play in the Whitecaps' favour because they've got a little bit used to it. Looking at the fixtures that we've got coming up, we've got Dallas away on July 4th. Possibly a chance to take points there, but obviously it's going to be really hot, but they are getting more used to that with where they are. And then RSL as the home game on July 7th. Those two games are possible to get points. This Galaxy one, I do agree with Steve. It feels to me that you maybe have to get points out of this one. What formation would you go with? Now, let's just hope that Guti is good to go. Gaspar and Urbinski are day-to-day. For the sake of this, let's just say that they're maybe not good to go. What formation do you think you would go with?
I would... Geez, I have no idea which one would be the best option. But so far, I would say... I'd even contemplate a 3-5-2 at this point, or a 5-3-2.
But they had tried that at training. I kind of thought they might have gone for it in this game against RSL.
Yeah, the only reason I would say that is because it does put a little bit more pressure on Chicharito. It puts a little bit more pressure on him having to deal with three center backs in there. They could take spells off the center backs and kind of switch around and have somebody else marking him or paying close attention to him. And then also you're not as reliant on having a proper fullback in. You can put Tybert in a left wing back spot. It's a little bit less. You have to concern. He's a little bit less concerned with having to play a defending role. I thought they might have switched to a three at the back on Friday when they played against RSL when they brought Cornelius in, but it didn't obviously happen.
Yeah.
I
mean, what about yourself, Zach? What formation would you like to see from this team? we're kind of limited, I guess. 4-3-3 surprised me against RSL. I like the idea of a 3-5-2, but maybe we have to go with a flat back four and some defensive midfielders to kind of cope with that Galaxy attack and then hope to maybe hit on the break.
I think we're already at a point after 8 games where it's getting a little bit awkward with the changing of the formation, especially like we talked about last week, coupled with the communication that's come around that this season. I think it might be wise to stay 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, or sorry, stay. I guess go back to, return to. Again, not that that's the most dynamic. Or 4-2-3-1 is another way to configure those players in a similar way. That's I think would probably be best. I also was quite surprised that they called today a 4-3-3 and then how it played out as well. Or sorry, Friday night. But yeah, no, I think 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, or 4-2-3-1 is what you should see against the Galaxy. Will that happen? I'm not so sure.
Let's just finish this part. Quick prediction. I am going to go for 2-0 Galaxy.
I will go 1-0 Galaxy.
Wow. I will go 3-1 Galaxy.
Well, we're not optimistic. That's usually when the Whitecaps pull something out of the bag. You kind of feel they have to. I know Axel's talked about MDS basically would be safe to the end of the season. A bad run of games here, it's going to certainly heap some pressure on him. So we'll see how that all plays out. It's a brutal schedule ahead, busy time ahead. Yeah, let us know how you're feeling about it all. But that's all for the Whitecaps chat for this show. It went on longer than I had hoped, actually, so hopefully you are all still with us. We're going to turn our attention in the next part to the rest of MLS. And we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Mark Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Let's go, we ain't dead yet, no murderous flows from the holes of the skip blow. Heavy payloads on the enemy lines below. Terminate the foe, heavy metal outlaw. Fire on the road across the ocean is on. Dark by the hood slams the space between the shoulder blades. Infamous death brigade, back or slash, no need for a band-aid. Hack and the fail-safe on scale brainwaves. Campaign brings vacate upstate. Bring blood from your vein, drain twilight lies in your head. Don't wanna be a slave. Babylon, blood class, full front assault. International, better squad, fully untold. Camouflage in your brain that is caused by the rage of the enemy who never really been a threat. Check the steel, you have the last idea. We are the prophets of the disaster. Be blasted by the gas bastard. Faster, here we go, get a blaster. Check the steel, you have the last idea. We are the prophets of the disaster. Be blasted by the gas bastard. Faster, here we go, get a blaster.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for June. From Moscow, it's Moscow Death Brigade. I'm wearing their t-shirt as we record this. You can't see it, although we are recording some video that's going to be up on YouTube from this show, so you'll be able to see it then. That is a song taken from their debut album, Hoods Up, and that was Ghetto Blaster. Still got a couple more songs of theirs to come this month, but for this part of the show we're going to be turning our attention to the rest of Major League Soccer. Our weekly roundup of the games from Friday and Saturday. We're not bothering waiting for Sunday's game between Atlanta and Philadelphia. We'll come to that when
it's going to be a good game, I think, too.
Yeah, it should be. But we're mostly going to focus on the Western Conference, and we'll kind of rip through this a little bit. All 13 teams in the West were in action this weekend. RSL Vancouver kicked things off on Friday night, but we don't want to talk about that anymore.
There was actually Dead Bull played before them, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's not Western Conference. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we only care about the West. All the action took place on Saturday, and it started with Cincinnati hosting Colorado, and it ended with a 2-0 win for the visiting Rapids. Somehow, because like Cincinnati's woes are continuing, but they peppered Colorado's goals, 22 shots. They only faced 7 in return, but the Rapids put the ball in the back of the net. That's all that really matters. The home side were denied by the woodwork. Rapids keeper William Yarborough had a couple of great saves, some defensive blocks, just all-round general poor shooting. But in the end, it was a first-half finish from Diego Rubio and a neat second-half goal from Jonathan Lewis that saw Colorado leave with maximum points. Michael Barrios now has assists in 3 straight games. Great addition he was in the off-season for Colorado. I'm surprised by Colorado. They're a bit of my surprise package for me so far this season. They're keeping it up as well.
It'll be interesting to see how long they can keep it up, Michael, because I agree. They have done some good things this year, and including in the offseason, bringing in someone like Barrios from Dallas, from a conference rival in Dallas. I have this feeling that over the 34-game season that they might level off a little bit and not maybe be as high up the table or
getting the points on the board early. It's so key in this league.
And let's be honest, if you don't take 3 points from Cincinnati, then there's lots of questions that you should be asking yourself.
I mean, they're not playing.
I would say even on the road,
yeah,
especially on the road, yeah.
I mean, they're not playing horrible. They're creating chances. Their finishing is dreadful.
They have one of those. I think it's like one of those things where you remember how it was like so exciting for people to come to the renovated PG Park, Michael, like in Portland, like teams like get up for it because it's the atmosphere and the stadium stuff. Well, Cincinnati, I don't know about the atmosphere being amazing, but the stadium is
cracking
into a stadium, and it's a really nice stadium, and so I think that helps teams get up for it. But the other thing about this game is Colorado once again was wearing those green shorts with the white top, which it's grown on me.
It looked like Ireland.
Yeah, it's grown on me, and now I recognize it as being Colorado. But
it was just nice to see all the teams pretty much playing in their normal colours and being able to differentiate what game you're watching this week. So that was nice. I appreciate the end of the parlay era.
Yeah, well, MLS will solve the plastic problem in the ocean, so there's no point of going back to those.
True. I mean, it's all been solved now. Talking of plastics, there was a lot of plastic on display in Dallas. There was a lot of empty seats for this one, which was a shame because it was a pretty entertaining game. Dallas won, Minnesota won. Share of the points, 33 shots between the teams. Minnesota had 18 to Dallas's 15. 8 of those were on target for Minnesota as well. Dallas only had 4 on target. First half, visitors by far the better team. Had a load of chances. They broke the deadlock in the 36th minute. Franco Fragapane fired home a rebound after Jimmy Maurer had saved an initial effort. And they nearly added a second moments later, but they were denied by another Maurer save. Had to settle for a 1-goal lead. Maurer was fantastic in this game. 7 saves overall, but he was excellent. Second half was a different story. Dallas came storming back with the better team for large swaths of that second half. And it was 18-year-old homegrown forward Ricardo Pepi that hit the 68th minute equaliser. Nice passing move. I thought Dallas might have gone on to win this, but it was actually Minnesota that had the better chances to win it late on. But they just could not find a way past Maurer. And share of the points, I think Minnesota's probably going to be disappointed. Thankfully for the Whitecaps, though, it was a share of the points, because if Dallas had won, it would have been the Whitecaps that were rock bottom. Now we share that spot with Dallas.
Yeah, when Minnesota went ahead in this game, I was hopeful that they'd be able to hold on. But unfortunately, like you said, Dallas came out far better in the second half and got a worthy equalizer. And I think it was a fair result at 1-1. Dallas will be a team I think Vancouver will be doing some battle with throughout the season, or at least over the next month or two.
Now, next up was another new stadium. We talked about Cincinnati's. It opened recently. Finally, the long-awaited first MLS match at Austin's new Q2 Stadium. And I say first MLS match because it actually hosted its first proper match during the week. The American women's national team took to the pitch there, which I found surprising. You'd think they would want the the new stadium to be opened by the hometown team. But I mean, it was packed for this one, just over 20,000. It was packed for the women's game as well.
Well, I guess they wanted to make sure that the first game had some goals in it, so maybe that's why they decided.
Yes, maybe, because this one certainly didn't, which was a shame. It was the only thing that was missing from it. It was 0-0. It was a great atmosphere. The stadium looks fantastic. The pitch, not so much. The pitch that they're using is apparently the grass pitch that they're going to be using during the Qatar World Cup. I hope it's better for the World Cup, because this one was cutting up very early on. I hope there's some grass farms nearby, because they're going to have to do a little bit of patching. The sod's obviously just clearly not taken yet. 2 games in the space of 4 days probably wasn't ideal for it. It was a fairly entertaining affair despite the no goals, mainly in the first half. Austin keeper Brad Stuver was man of the match for me. He denied the Quakes on the best of their scoring opportunities. This was one of 3 games I had on at the same time, multitasking, but the second half was a pretty dull affair. Austin, still doing well. They've got all these home games coming up. The way things are shaping up just now, it's shaping up that they could finish above the Whitecaps in the standings by the end of this. Or again, am I just being too pessimistic here?
Well, you're right on right now at this point. But it all depends on how well Austin, like right now they're on a high. They've been on a high as being a new team. They got a lot of players that were like kind of put aside or like discarded by other teams, so they have something to prove. And then now they have the new stadium where they can use that as a jumping point for the team. So right now, yes, I agree that they're right now. You never know how the season's going to end, but right now they're right on track to be definitely ahead of the Whitecaps.
I don't want to sound negative towards the U.S. women's national team or anything like that, but this seems like really poor planning in terms of if you're playing your first ever club home match at your new stadium. Why would you? And you have to know that there's potential for there to be some issues with that's one of the things you're probably most concerned about, aside from security or whatever, is the pitch has, like you said, Michael, has it taken? Is it settled? Is it bedded in, or whatever whatever needs to happen there with the roots of the grass and all that kind of stuff. Why would you do 2 games in 4 days to start off,
especially a new stadium?
And you not being the first one to play there? Like, I having the U.S. women's national team there, I think that's awesome, and I think it's something that they'll wanna be a home for, right? But before your first game and 4 days before your first game, that's like really poor planning.
I read it somewhere online that they were expecting some pellets to come in from Haiti, but they just didn't arrive in time to fix the field. Otherwise, they
could they not get a visa to enter the country either?
I guess the pellets couldn't.
One thing that they kept talking about in the build-up to this and during the game was apparently Austin's slogan is "Keep being weird," and they want to be known as the Weird City. I thought that was Portland.
It's Portland. Is
this going to be some weird rivalry that they're now going to have? MLS are going to have the weird derby to see who's the weirdest.
What's the phrase? This is keep Portland weird.
Portland weird, yeah. But you go down to Voodoo Donuts, the graffiti's near that.
Yeah, Austin doesn't really fit with the weird thing.
It's more kind of. Austin seems a great city. I really want to go and visit. I've always wanted to go, as we've said before, during South by Southwest. The stadium looks fantastic. I really want to go and take a game in there. Whitecaps are there, I think, in August. I don't want to go then because it's already 37 degrees now. So I dread to think what it's going to be like down then. So I need us to have a game at the start of the season in March for me to maybe make it there, or end of the game in November or something.
I could have sworn that I heard someone say that Austin's like the Paris of Texas. That's what they. I don't know if it's an official.
Texas.
No. I mean the Paris type of. I don't know. Maybe they didn't use Paris. Maybe it was a different city. But they're like, because they are a high. They have like a lot of eclectic tastes. There, they have like fine dining. music is huge there, like music festivals and stuff like that.
They have South by Southwest. They have a
Yeah.
good music scene. They have, I think the culinary scene is supposed to be good there.
Yeah.
It's also Texas is typically known as a politically more a right wing bastion kind of.
Yeah.
And Austin is a place where it's more
liberal. Yeah,
liberal, and so
they like the rest of Texas likes their steak and taters.
But yeah, good luck to Austin. Their stadium looks great. The atmosphere was electric today, and I that's going to give them a boost for the rest of the season. So we'll see how they do. So I had that on one screen, and then I also had LA Galaxy Seattle. Now, this finished 2-1 to Seattle. Highly entertaining first half was followed by a pretty dull and disappointing second half. LA took the lead in the 21st minute. Chicharito went down the box. Kljestan steps up, drills home the penalty. It's 1-0. But then Seattle fought back with goals either side of half-time. 4 minutes before half-time, Yaimar gets the goal. 4 minutes after half-time, Raul Rui Diaz gets the go-ahead goal. And then after that, Seattle were pretty comfortable. They shut down the Galaxy defence, or the Galaxy attack, pretty easy. They deservedly took all 3 points at the end. It's left them as the only unbeaten team now in MLS. It's extended their lead at the top of the standings to 4 points. Galaxy, they've got to head to Vancouver on Wednesday, as we talked about in the last part. Their attack can definitely cause problems. But I think the Sounders showed how you can handle it. And hopefully the Whitecaps will study that and maybe learn and replicate it if they can on Wednesday night. But very good win for Seattle. The Sounders truck keeps barreling down the road.
Is there a reason why Chicharito didn't take the penalty? Did he miss a bunch of them last year?
I don't know. I was really surprised when Kljestan stepped up.
Yes.
I would have thought it would have been, I don't know.
And once again, what club wouldn't want a Raul Rui Diaz, in their side?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic addition. But that just leaves 2 more games to talk about. And the first of those that we're going to look at is the other Cascadian side. Another win for a Cascadian team this weekend. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf once sang. 2-1 over Sporting Kansas City. It was a packed Piggy Park. It served up a cracker. KC took the lead. Jalen Lindsay fired home a beautiful 28th minute opener. Portland tied things up though 8 minutes later. Dairon Asprilla buried a low one from just inside the box past Tim Melia, who I think saw it late and didn't get down well for it. Game ticked into first half stoppage time and Marvin Loria gave the Timbers a lead. Basically the last kick of the half. Tapped in after a horrible defensive slip from Lindsay, who went from hero to zero for KC. Second half though, Kansas City dominated. They laid siege to that Timbers goal. They squandered a number of great opportunities. Johnny Russell had a few great chances and a couple of weak efforts. Then Sebastian Blanco made his return late on in the game, got a rapturous reception. Been missing since September with a torn ACL. Almost his first incident on the pitch. It was a foul, and he it wasn't necessarily a foul, but he injured the other guy because I can't remember who it was for KC. Basically, they both went up for the header, and the KC guy just headed right into Blanco. Blanco just walked it off. Pulido had a chance to win it in stoppage time for KC, fired into the side netting, but this was a good win for Portland. And when KC took the lead, I thought they'd go on and hold on, but Portland came back well and managed to see off a concerted KC attack.
If Steve, if you haven't seen it, you need to go back and watch Kansas City's goal and see it's like he doesn't get credited with an assist, but the determination of Pulido on the play made that goal happen.
And I take full credit for that.
I thought you would appreciate that.
I had heard that if he had scored today, he was going to lift his shirt and there was going to be a message to you underneath.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait. But the last game of Saturday and the last game to feature Western teams this weekend, was an absolute snooze fest in the first half. It finished though, LAFC won, Houston won. I really don't know how the way this game played out. First half, neither team had a shot on target. Dynamo didn't even have a shot in the first half at all. It was all LAFC, but even then they weren't really doing much. Second half, they obviously got a bollocking and they had more urgency right from the start. They took the lead wide open. Jose Cifuentes at the back post from a corner. Made no mistake from close range. I think it was about 4 or 5 minutes in at the start of the second half. I thought they'd go on and pop a few more away, but then from absolutely nothing, Houston found themselves back level. 59th minute, Maxi Ruti. He's a guy, if you give him a chance, he's going to take it. He had 3 LA players around him, found the back of the net, and then almost seconds after the restart got a second, but it was tipped over. LAFC pushed for a late winner. They didn't get it. Another couple of points dropped at home by LAFC. Big win for Houston here. Or big win in that they got a point. But a good result for Houston.
How many goals is it now for Uridi in the season?
He scored in 4 of the last 5, so I don't know what he's got altogether.
So again, he's this guy who I think he sort of like feels like he scores in spurts. Because he doesn't stay places for a super long period of time.
He's a kind of like a go in between type player where they're always looking for a top striker and they're ready. He's kind of there for the time being until they find that top guy. And so I think he's just somebody that I kind of always relate him to a poor man Rui Diaz, kind of like a poor man's Rui Diaz, where he's always in and around the box. He can, if you leave him open, he'll find a way to score goals on you. He's
having a good year.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Houston still keeping there or thereabouts. I mean, the standing, Seattle in the West, out on top, 21 points from their 9 games so far. They've got a 4-point lead over Sporting Kansas City. Colorado, third on 16. LA, then on 15 points. And then a bit of a gap then, 3-point gap to Portland, Salt Lake and Houston all on 12. San Jose's on 10. And then the Whitecaps down in 12th spot on 7. Dallas just below them on 13. So 5 points already out of the playoff places in the West. You want to keep in touch, but as we've talked about, 2 tough games coming up this month. Lose those and they could be well adrift. It's hard by the end of June.
It's hard to be out of touch at this time of the season, in my opinion, because I mean, in touch is what, like 2 or 3 games away, so 6 to 9 games away. So all it takes is a good run.
Problem is the confidence is going lower and lower for them to get those 2 or 3 games in a row.
Oh yeah,
unless they get a full roster back.
Yeah, worst case scenario is they could finish June 11 points back.
Okay,
I guess, but
so I'll give you a super recap of some of the Eastern games that went on.
I only watched the TFC one, and that was fun.
I was gonna go to that. I'm gonna skip the Red Bulls one. They beat Nashville 2-0 because in reference to Zach. I don't want to upset him too much, so we'll skip the Red Bulls one. TFC 3-2 Orlando beat them, and basically 3 of the goals in the first 10 minutes. Orlando, Tesho Akindele scored in the first minute.
Charles always helping Canadians. That's they've let Tesho score.
Second first minute goal Akindele's got this season.
Yeah, and Akindele then set up Nani for the second one in the 8th. Akinola, potential Canadian, we'll talk about that later, scored in the 10th minute. And then they tied it up before the halftime. So it went into the half 2-2.
Then Sorio, another Canadian.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Urso scored in the 84th minute to give Orlando the victory. And you want to talk about Dyers in the standings. TFC right now is a point ahead of Chicago and Cincinnati at this point of the year.
And all is not happy, of course, still in TFC. They still haven't solved this out-of-door situation.
And their points per game, I mean, as bad as things are for Vancouver and things are not good for Vancouver, the points per game for TFC is even worse than Vancouver's at this moment.
Yeah. Because Cincinnati has a game in hand, and they're only a point ahead.
Also, TFC changed their keeper for this one, so Bono dropped
Oh
out.
yeah, that's
So
right. But they still lost.
I know I've done this a few times over the years. I don't like doing it, criticising commentators. Vic Router was absolutely awful today. If you watch it back, he doesn't even call the first goal. He's got no idea what's happening.
The problem is you're putting a guy who doesn't call soccer anymore that much. He used to call soccer quite a bit, so they put him in a difficult position in this case. And then on top of that, he's calling it from a studio where he's probably not used to doing that at all. So I don't blame Vic at all. Like he used to when he called games back in the old Canadian Soccer League. I can't remember. Was it called the Canadian Soccer? I can't remember what it was called back then. When they
CSL, yeah.
Yeah, he was fine. He was a decent guy to listen to because at the time we didn't have very many options. But now with hearing so many different play-by-play, he's not a soccer play-by-play guy anymore at all.
There's a nostalgia factor with him. But yeah, Michael, I wonder if I watched it. And I know I saw your comments, and I wasn't really. Again, I was kind of multitasking, and I was more watching than listening to what was going on, so I didn't really notice anything.
They had a lot of issues on that broadcast because Caldwell was talking to his director and not muting his mic a lot, especially in the first 10 minutes.
I ended up turning the sound down for.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues in the first 10 minutes.
Usually I listen to games with the volume off now, but maybe Caldwell just like his kilt was up and
could have been.
Put it down.
One bit I did hear in the second half was they were having a debate, or it was mainly Reuter was having a debate saying, well, now that Westberg's in, do you think they're just trying to showcase him so that another team might want to buy him? And then he was going on about Orlando might need another keeper. Is this a chance for him to impress them? And Caldwell just ignored it and he just kept going on about it. And in the end, Caldwell was like, I think they more want to win a game than try and showcase a goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah, that's awkward. Yeah, because, Orlando has, like, Peruz.
Yeah.
Like, starting keeper / captain, I think, is their keeper.
So the next game, we got New England and New York City FC.
This was
New England, ultimately win this game. A great winning goal by I think it was I can't remember who scored it, but McNamara. But it was beautiful setup by Buchanan.
Yeah,
who came on in the 60th minute. Once again, another game-winning assist by him. Great play on the wide side. DC United beats Inter Miami 1-0. 72nd minute PK by Ole Kamara. Biggest call here. What was it? 2? It's listed
2 sendings offs.
Oh, 2 sendings off. Yes. The Gregor one in the 56th was the second yellow card. The Shawcross one in the 84th minute was basically, I don't even know if we want to call it a tackle or it was a wrestling move. Basically,
I have to watch this now.
I was going to ask you what you guys call that in your wrestling world.
I don't know because he kind of grabbed him by the chest and just threw him to the ground, basically while going around him. His
hand was around his neck, Michael, and then kind of threw him to the.
It'd be interesting to see if somebody uses it in wrestling.
Oh wow! I didn't.
They called the Shawcross.
Didn't have time to have the.
You could call it the Shawcross if you want.
Good.
Columbus beats Chicago, but what else is new? A team beating Chicago 2-0. Zardes with 2.
Yeah, Michael Zardes with a brace.
Oof.
Yeah. Double jizzies. And so and just to go again the standings in the East, New England right now running away with it with 20 points. If you can see running away with it at this point, they're 5 points up on Orlando, and 6 points up on Philadelphia. Obviously, Philadelphia playing tomorrow. But at the bottom, like I said before, it's Chicago, Cincinnati with 4, Toronto with 5, and Inter Miami with 8, Atlanta with 10. And then a whole bunch of teams with 11 around the playoff bar.
So again, Vancouver's 5 back of the last playoff spot, and Toronto was 6.
I just watched the Shawcross sending off. That's a clothesline.
Yeah, but he sort of also kind of throws, like he pushes.
Yeah, it was
as well.
Yeah,
a hook clothesline.
It's Baron Corbin's end of days. Let's go with that. I think
that's what I was thinking. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're all in agreement, so that's good. Well, that's it for our MLS roundup. That is it for our domestic chat for this show. We're going to be turning our attention internationally for the rest of this episode, starting off with the Euros, and we're going to be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
There's danger on the way, but you won't need to pray. There's just another life to save. A daring crime so bold to steal a nation's gold. The force is launched to catch them both. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. International rescue calling. International rescue calling. International rescue.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's a girl band from England from the 90s and the 80s called Fuzzbox for this song, International Rescue. When I first knew this band, they were called We've Got a Fuzzbox and We're Going to Use It. And they were a grunge punk band. Somehow, they then became this glamorous all-girl band singing kind of catchy pop songs. Which I was playing this to Caitlin the other day and she said, why do all the songs you play by female band singers all sound the same? And I was like, no, they don't. And she's like, they do. Every single one has that sound. I obviously have a type. But it's a very good song. It is from their 1989 album, Big Bang. We've got a fuzzbox and we're going to use it. I thought I'd play it, International Rescue, because, let's be honest, watching these international games has rescued us from having to just watch Whitecaps games and commentate on Whitecaps games. It's given us more to talk about. And, it's been packed. We'll start by some Euros chat, and then we'll talk a little bit Copa America and then a little bit about Canada as well. But we're recording this on Saturday night. It's not going to come out till Sunday night. But the night that we're recording this, each group in the Euros, they've played 2 matches. We'll have a quick look at each group and kind of go through it and talk about a few things. But just starting with you, Steve, what's your overall thoughts on the action so far in this feast of football?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty entertaining, and there have been some surprising results as well, which makes it more entertaining. You don't want the same kind of results every time, 3 points for every game. So I've enjoyed it. Obviously, last weekend was a little difficult to enjoy, but once that kind of got more away from it, you got back into the football aspect of
course,
it.
yeah, because you went on our show last week, so we didn't get your thoughts on that. It was sickening to watch.
Yeah. So I overall I think it's been a decent run for the Euros, especially and it's helpful to have fans in the stands. That makes it a little more. If it was an empty stadium, that definitely would take away a little bit away from it.
What about you, Zach? Well, first of all, the Christian Eriksen, let's give an update. He's out of hospital now. He's had an operation to have an ICD put in his heart, which is a heart starter. They're saying his football career might not even necessarily be over, which is quite stunning. But they're obviously still doing more tests and they want to make sure he's okay. But the action's been great. I've really enjoyed this one.
The tournament, I think, has been quite quality on the whole. Yeah, there's been a few matches that haven't been that great, but there's been a number that I think stand out, both from a personal investment side, but also I just think quality of play. As you watch these games, there's been some games with quite a high quality of play.
There's been a couple of dire games in there, but you get that at every tournament, and it's set up so nicely every single group. I was watching a show over the weekend, and what they were saying in it is it's actually harder not to qualify for the second round than it is to qualify at this point. My dark horses, North Macedonia, are the only team so far to have officially been eliminated. So that was sad. What teams have surprised you guys? We'll start with you, Steve. Good surprises and bad surprises.
I expected most of the teams. A little bit of a surprise. I kind of called them out in the preview, but I thought Czech Republic. But it's still early. They could, but I think they've done enough to qualify for the next round.
Yeah, they should.
With 4 points. And then I'm a little bit surprised Sweden is at top of the Group E. If you want to do that, and then bad surprises or negative surprises. Nothing really stands out. Maybe results wise, seeing like in the same group, Spain being near the bottom without a victory at this point. So that would be the two that I would look at.
You had tipped Turkey as a dark horse, though.
I did, but
they've been dreadful.
Yeah, they've been dreadful, but they're also like one of the youngest teams. So I was thinking that maybe, obviously I have a feeling in this case the bright lights got to them, and they haven't been playing like they leading up in qualifying. They were pretty good.
Yeah, defensively they were great, and now they're currently sitting with
and I think
that the best goal record or goals against record in all the qualifiers.
Yeah,
and they had moments of good defense even against Italy, which I think right now is probably the strongest team. But they just went once it started leaking, the dam started leaking, it just broke apart for them.
The Turkey thing. I didn't rate them as highly as you guys did, but I was expecting far more from them, and it seemed like they, as much as their defense was obviously something that got them to the tournament, they didn't. The way they approached that Italy game was so negative.
Yeah,
and they lacked virtually all creativity and anything exciting going forward. And it seemed like that was partly out of design. Like let's just try and go get a 0-0. And I think that set them on the wrong track in the tournament as a whole, because obviously it didn't pay off in the game, and they did not look much better in their next game. And so I think one team, on the negative side, who it's easy to point out. I think, and obviously it's wrapped in tragedy, but I would not have expected Denmark to have no points after 2 games. And then I also would agree with Steve in terms of Spain having 2 points. Poland is kind of having a Poland performance at a tournament, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that they would be able to turn it around, but Spain is worse than far worse than I thought they would be. On the positive side, surprised by teams. I think, there's a few surprises. Obviously, Czech Republic, I think, has done a little bit better than I thought. They're not doing amazing, but I've been surprised by the performances by the Ukraine. I've been encouraged by Finland. I thought they would do a little bit of damage. I'm really disappointed about their game against Russia. I really thought they would take a point or points there. But overall, I think the biggest surprise for me is how Roberto Mancini has Italy playing. I did not see Italy play so well going forward and to score so many goals, right? Like there's the stats, they never scored, more than 2 goals in a Euro match ever. And so now they've done that in both of their games so far.
Immobile's been scoring great points for me in the fantasy football.
He's been good. Insigne has been great.
He's in my team as well.
Spinazzola has been amazing on the left side. Their midfield has been good. I'm a little bit concerned that Chiellini went down. I don't know what his status is for Sunday morning's game, but a little concerned about that because as old as he is a significant part of that side. But they really could live out what you hope for them or what you thought for them, Michael. I think they're really showing, unless they're doing a decrescendo as opposed to their usual crescendo in the tournament. It's hard not to see them going at least to like a semifinal.
And since I was wearing Italy blue during our preview show, which you can still watch, I guess. I don't know how much effect it will be, but I'm going to basically adopt them as my team now.
There you go. I'm also
now that they've won their first 2 games too.
I'm also really happy with Germany's performance, both against France and against Portugal. Against France, they were a little more conservative going forward because they did not want to get caught out by France's pace on the counter. And so, only lost to an own goal, but lacked the freedom to be creative or to be more attacking, which they showed against Portugal. just really encouraged. Guson's on the left side has been probably one of the biggest standouts for me because one of the players I know the least plays for Atalanta. I think I might have said he plays for PSV before on the show, but plays for Atalanta in Italy. Yeah, really, really encouraged by the performances there. And also, Michael, was really, really happy for your point against the English.
It felt like a win.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, they played a better game. They utilized their squad far better than the English did, and really, really exciting. How it's a travesty that Jadon Sancho was not available for selection for the first game and left on the bench for that game. That shows how poor the coaching is, or the valuation by the coaching staff or the English FA is of Jadon Sancho, who is a real quality player who I've seen play quite a bit, and I think he's the kind of player for me. And I know I'm Bundesliga biased, but far more could have made an impact on the game than Jack Grealish, who I think is has great upside and great potential and all that. I'm just shocked that Sancho didn't see the field in that game.
Yeah. I want to look at Group A because by the time that most folk are going to be listening to this, because it's going to be out after the final games have been played, Italy play Wales, Switzerland play Turkey. And Wales are the team that surprised me. I did not think they were going to do as well or play as well as they have. And Turkey surprised me in the other way because I thought they would do way, way better. I mean, right now, Italy's on 6, Wales on 4, Switzerland's on 1, and Turkey's on 0. Now, if teams are settled on points, the first tiebreaker is the head-to-head between the two teams. So, like, Italy and Wales probably... Well, Italy are already into the next round. Yeah. Wales basically have a foot into that next round. If Switzerland can beat Turkey to get onto 4 points, they might need to do it by a couple of goals to get through. I'm still expecting Turkey to turn up at some point, but I don't know. It's in Baku, this one. Folk will know how it's played out, but do you see Switzerland or Turkey getting through from this group?
I don't see Turkey at all. Not at this point, even with a good victory, because they're -5 right now in goal differential. Even Switzerland is at -3. So they have to hammer Turkey and hope Italy hammers Wales in order to have a chance even for second place. They might have an outside chance at third at that point.
Yeah, I see Italy defeating Wales and I see Switzerland defeating Turkey. And even if the swing between those goal differentials is not enough for Switzerland to overcome Wales, I see both Wales and Switzerland qualifying for the second round on 4 points.
Yeah, I would think so. Group B, like Belgium's out in front, they're already through, they've got their 6 points. Russia's second on 3, Finland's third on 3, Denmark's fourth on 0, and it's Russia against Denmark, so massive game there. Both teams are on -2 goal difference, so if Denmark can get the win there, get to 3 points, it probably isn't going to be good enough, 3 points to go through, but there might be one 3-point team that does sneak through depending how other results go.
Yeah.
I wonder whether Belgium are going to maybe ease up a little bit, giving Finland a chance to maybe get a draw. I'm not sure.
I see Belgium trying to win. Go through. I don't think that you want to take a chance with this team to take the foot off the gas pedal, and you just basically want to go because they're not a team that that's proven anything at this point, and they need to get a big they can't. They're not a team that can. You want to take a risk of turning off the light switch and hoping you can flip it back on.
Yeah, because I agree. I see Belgium beating Finland because for Belgium to lose to Finland would mean they finish behind Finland. So
that actually works better for them because if Belgium win the group, they have Italy in the quarterfinals potentially.
But again, if you as a football nation, as a football club team, you can't play I don't think you give away games. I don't think at this level,
it's risky.
Kind of players, you can't do that. I think you lose. You would lose the room. You would lose the player. I don't think anyone's saying, hey, yeah, let's rotate the squad heavily so that we can get the easier game down the road. I see Belgium, like Steve says, they have something to prove, and I think they'd rather prove it against the best than I think they'd rather they'd rather go up against Italy in the quarterfinal than like lose in the semifinal on the other side kind of thing. So I see them wanting to win this game because also, again, they legitimately could jeopardize even their place. Oh, no, they were through. You're right, they're through. But there's a chance for 3 teams to finish on 6 points here. So I don't think they didn't want that. I think they are going to win, which is not good for Finland, who I had hopes for. But I also see Denmark overcoming Russia, and so I see a 3-way tie for the second place. And how the numbers work, and how much Belgium beats Finland by, that's going to make second place interesting. And then it's also going to be the third place. I agree with you, Michael. It will be hard to advance with 3, but my hope is that Belgium will get 9 points, come first, and that somehow Finland and Denmark will both be able to come second and third and both advance. Highly unlikely, I know, but that's what I'm hoping for.
The thing is, if Denmark could win, they basically are second place, because both Russia and Denmark are -2 right now. So they would be, because I'm assuming Belgium would beat Finland by a couple of goals. I don't think it's gonna be that close a game.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Denmark would be second place in this case, so they could
actually get through in second on the 3 points.
But that's all up to whether they can beat Russia or not.
Yeah,
that's not a proven given or whatever.
Those games are on Monday, as are the Group C games, which sees my North Macedonia boys take on Holland. That is a disaster waiting to happen potentially. And Ukraine take on Austria. Netherlands already through 6 points. Ukraine 3, Austria 3. It's a shootout between those two for second spot. Both of them have a goal difference of 0.
Yeah.
But if they end up drawing, it's going to be Ukraine that go through, having scored more goals.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Austria wins that game, and Holland and Austria go top 2. And then this is, to me, depending if Austria can win by 2 or 3, this is one of the groups that could finish lower than Belgium or Finland or Denmark, or I guess Finland in Group B.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, Group D, Czech Republic lead the way on 4 points, amazingly. And then they're playing England on Tuesday, who are second on 4 points. Again, England, potentially, if they win their group, play the second place team between France, Germany and Portugal. So it's a tough slog for them. So finishing second isn't the end of the world for England, but I don't think they want to take that risk, because they could end up dropping to third.
I don't know.
Happens as well.
I don't know. For me, I'm not saying the players are doing this, but the way the lineup is set up, it seems like they don't want first place. The way they put their lineup together, they obviously got the win against Croatia, but the game against Scotland,
terrible so far through this tournament, I've got to say.
England looks like really, really poor. Yeah,
their lineup is like Zach was mentioning Sancho not being in the lineup. Their central midfield has nothing of quality. They have quality, obviously defending, but nothing going forward.
Harry Kane's having a shocker.
Yeah, because nobody's able to get him service or anything like that. Like even players that people are saying that are playing well, Raheem Sterling, I don't think he's played that great. He scored
first game. He was okay.
Yeah, first game he scored the goal, obviously, but he hasn't done that much. And then they took off. What's that other the kid's name? I can't remember his name.
Phil Foden.
Foden, yeah.
Yeah, Foden. They took him off, even though he might have been their best player, attacking wise. Even though he wasn't that great either, but he might have been their best player. And they did a like for like substitution there, and then they did a like to like substitution with Harry Kane and Rashford as well. So it seemed like they weren't really interested in winning the game. To me, like essentially England. If I mentioned it in the chat that as soon as they get a manager who's not afraid to fail, they might be able to accomplish something in the international competition.
This is another talented group of English players that just can't seem to do it, and it's early days, but they can't seem to do it at the big tournaments where it really matters. I was so proud of the Scottish performance on Friday. Like Monday, we were all distraught after that Czech game because we had chances. the nature of the goals that we gave up, and that was the game that we felt we had to win if we were going to qualify. I don't think many of us thought we were going to take anything from Wembley against England, and then you're just hoping you can beat Croatia and the math kind of goes in your favour. But getting that point, and the thing is, in a tournament like this, the smaller teams, and Scotland is an unfancied, smaller, like, underdog, you kind of want them to have a moment that if they don't go through, they at least can look back and it's like, well, that was a special moment for us. North Macedonia's had it. They've got a couple of goals. Hungary got it today with that performance. Scotland got it against England. So I love to see that just in general at these tournaments. But I think Scotland's going to beat Croatia, but we should go through before points in third. And then it's not, like, before the thing started, we were kind of joking, that's not the hardest route if you finish third coming out of this group. So I don't know, we'll see what happens.
I think Czech Republic is going to beat England, or at least I hope that's what happened. And I know before the tournament, and even when I was listening back to our conversation about this, I thought you guys were crazy talking about Scotland beating Croatia. But having seen Croatia now, they're really not in good form. Even worse.
Shadow of their selves from 2
Rebic
years ago.
and Kramaric have not been good. Perisic he's done okay. Obviously, he scored the goal in the draw, in their 1-1 draw with Czech Republic. But I really hope your Scottish side can win, Czech Republic can win, and then Scotland will actually finish second ahead of England if the goal difference works out, and
fantastic.
that would be great.
Like, last two groups, Group E, Sweden surprisingly leading the way on 4 points.
With one goal.
Slovakia surprisingly second on 3 points.
With one goal from the penalty spot, I believe.
Spain, they've created so many chances in their 2 games and they've come away with 2 draws. And I mean, Poland played well against them today. Poland, if they had lost because of the tiebreaker, they'd have been out of the competition. So they had a lot riding on it. Now you've got Slovakia, Spain. Slovakia know if they just take a point from that, they're going to finish above Spain and probably knock Spain out. And if Poland can get a win against Sweden, they'd be on 4 points as well, and they've salvaged their tournament.
That's what I'm hoping
putting
for.
Sweden in peril as well. So this is these last 2 groups, very, very interesting.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for, Michael, is a Poland victory over Sweden and a Slovakia-Spain draw would be just nice.
It would.
Yeah.
Spain's a tough team to like. I just can't take them.
Yeah, I like Thiago Alcantara because I got to know him, as a player playing for Bayern. But there's not too many other players. I mean, their captain Jordi Alba is quality, but I don't really fancy them.
I think you guys are right. This group is surprisingly up for grabs right now. Anything is possible. Like, Spain might go into that last game and score 4 or 5 goals. You never know. But it could very well be another game where they struggle to score. Only scoring 1 goal in their first 2 games is probably the surprise of the tournament for me.
Yeah, very solid defensively though. Now, Group F, the final group, technically completely up for grabs. Even Hungary's in the mix, but going to Munich to take on Germany after the performance that Germany put in today, which I've got to say, Zach, impressed the hell out of me, and I don't know where that came from, but they just had that spell where they just destroyed Portugal. I know there was 2 own goals, but you force those.
Yeah,
they've put themselves in a position where they should be getting 6 points. Could even win the group now.
Yeah, at the same time, could lose and go out.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Are you nervous? Like, for the Scotland-England game, I should have put on a pedometer because I don't know how much pacing back and forward in my living room I did.
Yeah,
I hardly sat down in the second half.
I'm not nervous I think because I've come to this tournament with such low expectations, I'm not nervous like I might have been otherwise. Been texting with Peter Zimmerman today a bunch after his game and after the Germany game. Looking forward to the Hungary-Germany clash on Wednesday. I think Germany's lucky it's in Munich and not in Budapest, because that full stadium with their support, I think, is a real intangible thing that you can't underestimate. And it'll be nicer to play with only whatever it is, 12,000 or whatever that's allowed in Allianz Arena. But no, I think if Germany plays like they did today, if they play like they can, I think that they can get the result. They can get a result that would put them through. However, if Hungary plays at or above their level, then they could also defeat Germany.
They could have won today. Sloppy defensive play.
They should have won today. Again, France, kind of like who were we talking about before? Kind of like England, just not they haven't been great. Like even in the Germany game, they decided Deschamps chose for them to just play on the counter, to say let's let Germany have the ball and we'll try and hit them on the counter, which ultimately worked for them, right? And Michael, they got the result. So whatever. But when things changed today, or things changed in their game today, had to play a different way where they were on the ball and they got counterattacked, and they played against a team that was compact and pressed and didn't give them that much time on the ball. And also they just missed some of their clear-cut chances. And their goal was a little bit fortunate, in my opinion. I mean, there was a fortunate bounce. There was a poor attempt at a clearance that put it on a plate for them. So they have not been great. And I wouldn't be disappointed if somehow if Germany won and Portugal won and they were third and not one of those top spots. But
it'd be a shocker. I can see Germany winning the group because I think Portugal and France might draw.
Yeah. It is possible. Portugal, I was expecting a little bit more obviously from today's game, but this group is closer, way closer than we thought it was. Initially, I think we all thought that France was going to walk away with it, but France, they're showing the signs of where they're not able to get the ball in the right spots to score the goals. And obviously, like you said, Zach, that they had to change their tactics in this game because they dealt with a different type of team. And I think Portugal is very capable of doing those counters as well with more and be more lethal at them and lethal finishing. So I think they can fall again to Portugal and this time actually lose the game.
I again, to my Bundesliga bias to come through, and this is also my Bayern bias, I'm surprised that they have not used Kingsley Coman as an option. I think today he wasn't even in the 18. I think the first game he was an option off the bench, and today he wasn't included in the optional substitutes. But so not to use a player like that, and they're using, and it's not like they're not using Bayern players, right? They have 4 Bayern players in the squad. Pavard was at fault for the goal today. Started both games. Hernandez started the first game at left back, but they brought in Tolisso, who is coming off injury and hardly played this year at Bayern. They're bringing him on in midfield, but they're not bringing Coman because I guess they don't want to take Griezmann off, or they don't. But they're bringing on Dembele. To me, some of the coaching decisions there don't make sense from Deschamps.
I'm always surprised by international coaching decisions.
Yeah.
You feel like you want to try to get the formation where you get your best 11, but I guess they really want to just stick to their formation, and they're not very flexible in it.
Well, it was like Scotland's first game. Steve Clarke rewarded the players that got them there, which was not the best lineup or the best squad to go out, and it cost them. And then all the guys that we were clamouring to play started against England and much better performance.
I forgot who Steve Clarke was until I saw him during the England game, and I'm like, oh, he's the old assistant coach from Chelsea. I know that guy.
I'm looking forward to the next few days. Some cracking games in store, and the tournament's just going to get better and better. I wasn't a big fan, we talked about heading into this, of them playing in all these different host cities. I've loved it. I've totally come around on that. I think it's a great thing.
I think it works for this year, but I don't want to see it every year.
No.
This year, because of the fact that you don't want people traveling around too much or large numbers in one air spot, it really worked out well. But I do like at least have 2 countries that are maybe side by side that can be co-hosts, because I think that that benefits better, and you get kind of an atmosphere where people are in the same country, and you kind of get the whole feeling of it being based out of one country. I think that works out way better with these international tournaments.
I'm really excited for. I don't know if they've selected the cities already, but I'm really excited for 2024 in Germany. Like having experienced it firsthand in the 2006 World Cup, it was phenomenal to just be in the country, to go to games, to go to the outdoor gathering things for the football festivals for the tournament. It was amazing, and just to be able to travel so easily, it was amazing. I'm hopeful that I can like take my son to some of that tournament and have him experience, or if not, my whole. I said it talking to my wife. She's like, "Yeah, you and Kirk can go." So I would rather probably take the whole family, but even if it's just Kirk and I, yeah, it would be amazing.
I think Germany, like obviously Germany's a country that can like do a whole tournament on their own.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Austria was in it, it'd be nice if they let Austria have their group games in their country. But I think
they've worked together in the past.
Yeah, I guess so.
Austria would be a good like co-host with Switzerland, though, Steve, in the model you were talking about.
That's true. Good point. Yeah,
Belgium, Holland, or the Ukraine, Poland model. Like, yeah.
I don't know how much airplay it's had here, but there's talking that they might have to move the semis and the final from Wembley because the UK won't necessarily be letting fans in from countries that might be in them.
Was it? Yeah, because didn't they try to like get some like exemptions?
Yeah.
And that didn't go over well?
Yeah, it's not happening. So Budapest might be up for having the final because they're just cramming everyone into there. Last little bit, what do you make of the players removing these sponsors products like Coke, Heineken, Ronaldo did it, Pogba did it.
Oh, you mean in the post-game interviews and
Yeah.
stuff like that? Yeah, what are they going to do? Ban them from the tournament?
They're going to fine the associations. They mentioned today.
Well, I guess if the association is okay with their star players doing that, then it's fine. It's going to be hard for them to stop them unless you have something ahead of time where you put in there. You can't move these things out of the way.
Is there something, Michael, I'm not aware of that they don't like about these companies?
No, because they're not being sponsored, and they probably have their own like
No,
Pepsi.
well, that wasn't why.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, in these cases, like if that was the reason why, I would be totally against that because it's like those companies haven't paid to sponsor. Ronaldo removed the Coke bottles because he feels it's an unhealthy drink and people should be drinking water. So he held up a bottle of water and said, "Water, that's what you should be drinking, not like soft drinks." And Pogba moved the Heineken away because he's a Muslim and doesn't drink alcohol. It was a non-alcoholic Heineken they put in front of him, but still, it's
still visible
product. So
yeah, exactly.
He moved that away.
I got to say, both of those are for, to me, good, legitimate personal reasons.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was. One of the players from, I want to say the Ukraine, said, "Where's the Coke bottles?" and put them all in front. He said, "If you want to sponsor me, I'm here."
No, the Ronaldo one is whatever. He didn't have to move them because he could have just said water is a better option. He could just say that and just have the Coke bottle. The Pogba one, totally understandable there. Because if it's against your religion, and I don't see how you can find somebody for that either.
I know.
Well, no, I see how you like. The players are a part of a tournament that's being put on by they're working for an organization that's connected with this bigger organization that's putting this thing on. That who sponsors it and whatever. Like,
no, but I'm just saying physically the bottle doesn't need to be there. They could put a little banner.
No, but that's the thing that's part of the part of the sponsorship deal. Like,
no, I understand that. Yeah, well, whatever the case is.
But what I was going to say is Ronaldo. There's not too many things that Ronaldo does that I think are the right decision.
Yeah.
And this is something I would applaud him for. And with Pogba, I would stand with him too. And I think if you're Pogba, I'm thinking you'll be like, oh, whatever. Who cares about the fine, right? I'm going to do this because.
Yeah. I stand with Ronaldo anyways because I think Pepsi is the superior product over Coke. Sponsor us, Pepsi. Sponsor us.
But that is it for our Euro chat. Just to round this section off, we're going to bring you this week's wavelength. As regular listeners will know, I'm playing songs for Scotland because there's been 7 or 8, possibly up to 10 now, songs released for Scotland's Euro campaign. Anything to cash in on the Tartan Army. This was one of the first that came out. It's from a Fife band called Rude Beard, and it's a reworking of a song from the guy in the band's previous band, the Newtown Grunts, who we have played previously in Wavelength. This is their song, Toe Pokes and Tragedies.
We've waited so long for this, 20 years and more. Your hearts were on your jerseys as the Piper marched you out into the fold. For a shot at glory, our chances stand or fall. We never stopped believing. We suffered with you, we kicked every ball. Belgrade's a long way from home, from the cities and the towns where you were born. Your bravery got just what it deserved, and you know that we'll follow you evermore. Go and fight for your flag on the hallowed turf at Hampden, to get with you to Wembley. Oh, oh. From the Forth to the Clydeside, you shall return a hero. You're in our hearts and you'll never roam alone. On that November evening, you were the stuff that dreams. You fought them hard and well, with a fire there like we have never seen. You'll be remembered like those before have been, like Kilkenny before you, James McFadden, Dave Neary and Jock Steep. Belgrade's a long way from home, from the cities and the towns where you were born. Your bravery got just what it deserved, and you know that we'll follow you evermore. When you fought for your flag, from the plains of all the Spaniard to the mountains of Mexico, from the Forth to the Clydeside, you shall return a hero. You're in our hearts and you'll never roam alone. Eagles, Scotland are through. Would you believe it? It's absolutely incredible. Scotland celebrates 22 years of hurt are at an end. They've done it the hard way. They couldn't have done it any other way. Belgrade's a long way from home, from the cities and the towns where you were born, and your bravery got just what it deserved. You know that we'll follow you evermore. So go and fight for your flag on the hallowed turf at Hampden, to get with you to Wembley. Oh, from the Forth to the Clydeside, you shall return a hero. You're in our house, you'll never roam alone.
Rude Beard there, Toe Pokes and Tragedies, cheering on Scotland, one of the many songs for Scotland's Euro 2020 campaign. But moving on from the Euros, let's turn our attention now closer to home and the Canadian national team and World Cup qualifiers. And we are cock-a-hoop, because Canada are going to the Octopus. They've got a foot in the octagon. Hopefully they're going to fight their way through and have their hands lifted at the end, heading to the road to Qatar. There's a long road ahead. 14 games still await them, possibly 16, depending what happens in all of this. And all of this was possible, of course, because they beat Haiti on Tuesday night, 3-0 on the night, 4-0 on aggregate. goals, or at least one goal, seen by millions and millions of people around the world.
Scored by a Canadian.
Scored by a Canadian who I felt really sorry for. And like, in all seriousness, I hope he's okay after that, because that's the kind of stuff that could really damage someone's mental health. It's like we're all watching it and folks making jokes about it and it's going viral. This poor guy suffered a lot.
The best part was, I don't know if you saw someone on Twitter put it in one of our heritage moments of Canada. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
That was my favorite one.
The thing is, the funny thing is about him, just to quickly go on him, he made a great save in the first half. Actually,
he had a couple of good saves in the first half. I mean, folk were saying about match fixing and stuff. It's like you can't accuse him of that when you see he played out of his skin in the first half.
Well, no. I mean, you can't accuse someone who does that of match fixing, because the goal of match fixing is to not make it look like you're fixing a match.
Yeah.
To do that is so obvious, it attracts so much attention that you would never do that if you were trying to fix a match.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't think you could even possibly try to do that again, just the way it worked. Trying to
it was a near perfect own goal.
Totally felt sorry for him. Yeah, I don't think it would have made a great deal of difference in the end, but 3-0 on the night, 4-0 in aggregate. Canada is through to the octagonal. The 14 games await them on the quest for Qatar, possibly 16, depending where they finish in the group. We'll get into that in a sec. As I said, I've given some of my thoughts on it in one of the extra podcasts. Let's start with you, Zach. What did you make of the overall performance and just getting to this stage of the tournament for the first time? The last time they played in a game in this round was 1997. Things didn't go great then. Can it be better this time round?
Yeah, I think they will go better this time around. But I'm really, really happy. I think we saw in the second leg the performance, the goals, the result that I was hoping for in the first leg, and ultimately, this was debatably comfortable for Canada, which I think it needs to be. And not so much so that they get comfortable as they move into this next round, because you're right. This is going to be a battle. It's going to be a war. The octopus, the octagon, whatever you want to call it. These games, it's going to be so intense and going to be it's going to require so much, especially when they're playing like 2 or 3 games. I think there's sometimes where they're playing 3 games in a quick succession or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be so massive. And hopefully by then, supporters will be allowed to go, and we can go in person and get behind Canada and spur them on to victory. But I don't know, I'm really, really excited. I thought the performance was good. Kudos to John Herdman and the coaching staff for, I think, preparing the players in the right way in the midst of unique circumstances. And just so happy and so thankful for this opportunity to return to the final round of World Cup qualifying in CONCACAF, and this time hopefully to get over that hurdle and to actually make it to the World Cup finals.
What about yourself, Steve? How are you feeling watching it? How are you feeling after it?
Nervous as always, watching it. Even once they got the first goal was a lot of relief. The second goal they scored, that was basically, then you knew everything was done and dusted. It was nice to see a third goal going as well, just for the celebration and everything, and the way the third goal went in, just off the post, and he was able, Junior Hoilett was able to clean it up. It was fantastic. The moment I really enjoyed, though, just in a sentimental point of view, was afterwards, when they showed them in the group and everything, and it was Million Borjan kind of leading the charge, a guy who chose Canada over other options. Like, obviously now people are going to say, oh no, there was no really other options. He was always going to choose Canada. But just for the fact that even on paper, on the surface, that he chose Canada, and the way he was so passionate about it, especially you could be passionate during the game and passionate once you win and everything, but it still carried over into that huddle. And that's something we don't always see. We don't see that passion past the game, and so to see that was really entertaining and really really fun to watch.
Does it make me a horrible future Canadian that when it was 1-0 to Canada, part of me wanted Haiti to score just to see the chaos?
Cut his feed, Steve.
No, I don't think so. But the thing is like while you do live in Canada, you don't have like a direct connection and everything like that. So I can understand that the chaotic side of you would
I
want to see
wanted
that.
Canada to win. I'll just clarify before they do deport me. But I just thought it'll be entertaining.
Yeah,
It was a bit too comfortable.
I was okay with it. Like I said, I wanted to see 3 to 4 goals in Haiti, and so it could be just a celebration in that second leg.
Yeah, Michael, we've experienced enough moments that have been uncomfortable in our footballing journey in this country that it's nice. It is a nice change of pace. In the same way that it's nice to have like multiple options, in attacking positions, like we've never experienced ever before. So I understand your sentiment, but I think the majority of people were fine with how things went.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So that victory, as well as all the victories before it, has taken them into the third round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying for 2022. The octagonal is what it's called. It used to be the Hex, but they've expanded it because of all the COVID things. I like that it's 8 teams, actually. I think it makes it a lot better. So Canada's in with the big guns, the US and Mexico. Costa Rica's in there. Honduras is in there. Panama's in there. El Salvador's in there. Jamaica's in there, off their own accord. And it's setting up a battle. There's some great games ahead. I mean, you look at those teams, and if you look at the ELO rankings as opposed to FIFA rankings, Canada's currently ranked third in CONCACAF. The top 3 teams qualify automatically for Qatar. The 4th team is in a playoff to try and get that next spot. But you look at those teams, there's some very winnable games in there. Like Mexico and the US, obviously clear favourites. Canada's shown they can beat the US on home soil. We did that very recently. I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. We've got a great shot at doing this.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams in CONCACAF, especially the teams that have gone into the World Cup before, that are kind of in a dip in their program right now. They're not as strong as they are normally used to being. One of the biggest examples is probably Honduras, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can correct me if you think that's wrong, but I think Honduras is not at what their current standards are. Even Panama is kind of cycling through a new group of players, and they might end up being they work their way into the World Cup, but right now they're kind of just finding their own way. So those are the kind of teams that I think they have a chance. Obviously, teams like El Salvador and Jamaica, I think they are capable of beating them as well. And then you got a team like Costa Rica. I'm not familiar with Costa Rica. I haven't seen very many of their results in the past, but they can definitely win at home against a Costa Rican team. Maybe not in Costa Rica, but definitely at home. So they could split those 2 games for sure.
I have high hopes for these 14 games, Michael. I think the CONCACAF Nations League group stage matches that Canada was in when they played the US and beat the US for the first time in a long time. That 2-0 win at BMO Field in Toronto was really encouraging. And even though the return match was I think a 4-1 loss in Florida, I was still really encouraged by that because it showed that we can take points in a setting like this. And I think Canada can take points from the States, and Canada, I think, has the potential to cause a hard time for Mexico. And Canada's going to be playing Mexico right in one of the games where Mexico is not allowed to have fans, if I'm correct, right? So that's going to also be another bonus, another positive thing for them. So, ultimately, you need to win your home games and then get some draws and wins on the road. And I mean, that's kind of the normal thing for any kind of league you're in or any kind of format like this that you're in. And I don't know, I'm really excited because the other thing that makes me excited is not just the plethora of attacking options we have, but it seems like there's some encouraging signs at center back and even fullback, I guess you could say as well. I think the brief emergence of Scott Kennedy at center back is really exciting for me and encouraging.
He's looked excellent in those outings that he's had. Very, very impressed by him.
Steven Vittoria, Danielle Henry, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name, Ricardo
Ferreira.
Yeah. Like these are all options that I think are really exciting and really encouraging at center back, which has been the biggest concern for the last few years.
And the thing is obviously the previous games they were expected to have clean sheets, but the fact that they got 2 clean sheets against Haiti is an encouraging sign. Haiti is a team that's capable of scoring goals. They've done it in the past. So keeping clean sheets in Haiti, shutting them out in both games, that is an encouraging sign going forward. Because like we said before, the back line is considered the weakness only because we're the midfield and the attacking side are so strong now that we normally don't expect that. So this might be the typical defending that you normally have, but the forward line and everything else has gone so far above that we don't expect it.
Let's have a look at the path ahead for Canada. So there's 3 games in September. There's 3 games in October. There's 2 in November. There's 3 January into February. And then there's 3 in March to round things off. So far, we don't know where these games are going to get played. We'll talk about that in a sec. But September, Canada start off at home to Honduras. Then they're away to the US. Then they are back at home to El Salvador. Surely, if you're looking at qualifying for Qatar, 6 points minimum has to get taken from those 3 games.
That's a vital. If they don't come out with 6 points, that while it's not over, it would put a major dent in their qualifying hopes.
7 would be the dream, Zach. But I mean, Honduras and El Salvador on home soil, hopefully literally on home soil. That's got to be what you're looking at.
I think you meant 9 is the dream, but I think
9 is the dream. Yeah,
I think 9 is the dream. 6 is the minimum.
Those games. But we'll start the chat about where games should be played now. Now, John Herdman talked about he's wanting to play across Canada, take this team across Canada to let people see it. Now, it's not just as easy as that, because folk are like, oh, play this game in Yellowknife, play this game in Nunavut, which is obviously not going to happen. But you're looking at the likes of, like, say, Nova Scotia or PEI or something. But it's not just having a stadium that can host these games. You've got to have the training facilities. You've got to have the infrastructure, the television capabilities, all that stuff that goes with it. It isn't just a simple case of saying, oh, let's play this one here, this one there. Oh, the island, we're meant to have some games. Let's take some of the games over to the island. No. It's got to be realistic. And playing in bitter cold conditions, it also goes against the Canadian guys.
Yeah, because they're not 100% used to that, especially all of them. Some of them play in Spain, Portugal.
Yeah, nobody wants to be playing in like minus temperatures of games of football, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, that was back in the old days. I think the last game we were qualifying in '86 was in Newfoundland, and I think it was Honduras. I can't remember who they were playing, but they were basically in ball caps. I mean, not ball caps, toques and everything, and winter jackets before they got on the pitch. But the thing is about these, especially the first 3 games, the fact you're in Canada, you go to the US, Canada, the 2 Canadian locations for that at least needs to be correlate really close to wherever the US decides to play their game against Canada. So if it's in the East Coast, you got to play those 2 games on the East Coast. If it's in the West Coast, you got to play those 2 games on the West Coast. You got to have some kind of quick connection because it's 2nd, 5th, and 8th. Those are the dates currently listed. So that's not very much a travel time. You need to be close by. I'm willing, if they put it in the East Coast, I'm willing to say play both games in Toronto or play one Toronto, one in Montreal. That's fine with me.
I'd play them both at BMO in Toronto, I've got to say.
Yeah.
I think you need to play them both in the same city, Steve, with that quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But here's the key, and we've talked about this with many issues in the past when it comes to football clubs and football organizations. I think the CSA, maybe it's John Herdman who might be the best voice for this. There just needs to be really good communication about this. As long as they communicate what they're doing and why they're doing it, and maybe even how they came to those decisions. Crucial. I think people will be able to understand. If all games needed to be in the Yukon, okay, I think people would get their heads around that, right? But if all the games need to be in Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver or Edmonton or Langford, whatever, people just need to know what's happening and why it's happening. So I really, really hope the CSA will get out in front of this as quickly as they're able to and communicate what's going on. I've heard a few people talk about, the debate that obviously sparked right away that on Tuesday evening with, like you said, Michael, the game should be played here, or all of them should be in Newfoundland, and or they all should be in cold temperatures or whatever. That debate is really old. Like, for someone who's been following this for a long time, some of these arguments and some of these personal preferences and whatever, they're old and insignificant to me. What needs to happen is what the people making the decisions and ultimately the players and the coaches, what they think would be put them in the best place to qualify. And as long as they make those decisions and they communicate it to people, I think everyone else in the country should get on board with that, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. Absolutely. For your personal travel plans. Because here's the thing. Like Steve said, where we play can have an impact on how we do. Yep. Whether it's travel, whether it's temperature, whether it's proximity to other matches, whatever it is. And we just can't put any barriers to points and to results. We're so close.
To make it easier for the European players to come in. To make it easier for them for that travel.
If they said every game's in Montreal because it's a shorter flight, I can live with that. That's fine. But they just need to communicate.
I mean, the three of us would love every game at BC Place. Speak to folk in a Toronto podcast, they'd love every game at BMO Field. It's obvious. The thing I hate, and it comes up every couple of years, it's this pissing contest between Canadian fans of, oh no, we're more of a soccer city, we should be having it. Oh, we've got a bigger stadium, we can cram everyone in. That's not always a good thing. Like the Mexico game, if you've got a 60,000 game against Mexico at BC Place, a lot of Mexican fans in there. A 20,000 capacity venue, not as many Mexican fans. So it's things like that as well.
But to be fair about that Mexico game, and not to get into the the tribal or regionalism in the country, like, I think the support, and obviously I'm extremely invested and biased when it comes to this, but the support for that game from Canadians, both practically and experientially in the stadium, outside the stadium and in the stadium, was on a level to me that was able to compete with the support that Mexico received, the numbers, the volume, all those kinds of things. So again,
they won the streakers battle though.
Sure. And that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But you know what I mean? Like, I think Canada, both in people coming to the stadium, wearing their colors, singing, chanting, tifo, march to the match, all those kind of, pre-game activities, the week leading up. I think those things were all really, really positive for that experience. And I think in the stadium, and talking to some of the players as well, I think that was appreciated. Now, again, that doesn't mean that I think every game should be a BC Place, because it's arguably one of the poorer surfaces in the country. Yes. But yeah, so I don't think saying that because there's going to be there's 50,000 seats and 25 or 20 of them are going to be, your opponent's supporters doesn't negate BC Place in my opinion, or anywhere, any other stadium either.
I mean, I am all for tribalism in football, regionalism in football. I love that. That is basically what the UK football scene has been built on over the years. When it comes to the national team, though, that goes out the window. It's like with the national team, you all pull together for the greater good. And if we work out where the best thing for all aspects of each game is, that's the thing. October's games, they're away to Mexico, away to Jamaica, home to Panama. So in terms of that, you've got to look at, okay, so if you're in Jamaica, if they're not doing charter, which I think they might still be by that time, I mean, who knows?
I hope they were doing charter.
I would hope they would be. I mean, they can fly from Jamaica to anywhere, but realistically, you're probably looking at an East Coast thing for that as well. Yeah. October, that could maybe be Montreal. You give that one to Montreal. I don't know how many Panamanians there are in Montreal. November's games, at home to Costa Rica, at home to Mexico. Those are two huge games. They have to be in the same venue.
Yep.
BC Place makes sense because it's got the roof. If the player said no, it's right in our season, we'd rather have shorter travel, you go with them, you give it to BMO. You've got to look at the weather conditions though as well and see what's best.
Yeah, but you also got the training facility here too.
Yeah.
So that gives them an advantage there for those two games.
Michael, just to your point about the tribalism, some of my fondest memories of supporting Canada have been centered around connecting with club supporters from other cities in the country and being united in supporting Canada. I've had some great times in Toronto, great times in Edmonton, amazing times in Montreal. The stories of marches to the match and then supporting in the stadium, just like so memorable and great to connect with people who you've been on the opposite side of, and yet can come together with them. Even though there still is some of that club tension, you can come together and support Canada together. It's
like
so
Scotland,
awesome.
like the Tartan Army come together. Even Celtic and Rangers fans come together to cheer on the team together. Hibs and Hearts fans do it. Yes, you might piss in the guy's pocket when he's not looking in front of you at the game, but that's just part and parcel of it. It's come to be expected. But yeah, you have to just go for the greater good. The January game is 27th of January away to Honduras, 30th of January at home to the US, and then the 2nd of January away to El Salvador. Again, if you're chartering, it puts BC Place in the equation. If not, that might be tricky. But then where else do you play a home game in Canada in January? I think that one is a dead cert for BC Place.
That could be. Yeah, that's probably the hardest, I think, of all the travels. That's probably the hardest where you have to go.
Yeah.
You start in Honduras, come all the way to Canada, and then back to El Salvador or the opposite, whichever.
I don't know, because the last three as well is Costa Rica away, Jamaica at home, Panama away.
Yeah, that's tough too.
That's tough as well. It's a very tough ending. It kind of shows you how important it is to get some points on the board early in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. It's nervous. I've heard some people put rumours out, and it's all just rumours just now. I spoke to somebody at the CSA during the week that said, we're still looking at everything. Everything's on the table. We have to look at what's best for all aspects. Travel, logistics, training, just everything to give Canada the best advantage, but to make the players feel as comfortable as they are possible. One of the rumours going about was it's only going to be the cities that's going to be hosting World Cup games. I can see why they would maybe want to do that. I think it would be stupid to rule out a big venue like BC Place to do that, especially for a game that's going to be in January. Can't play that in Edmonton. We can, but I don't think the Canadian players would like it either. Same with playing in Montreal or Toronto. So that would be stupid just to look at it that way. But I mean, that is the path ahead. It's a tough path ahead. When you break down the last 6 fixtures, it's tough. But if this team is as good as we say it is, if it is the golden generation, they have to overcome this. These are the games they have to be tested in. These are the games they have to win. And this is what they need to do to get us to a World Cup again.
For sure, yeah, and it will be a test for them. I know you keep saying golden generation. I still think it's a little bit premature to call it golden generation because they
theory.
are, yeah, they're it's the beginning of potentially the golden generation. But definitely a good start, whether it's to this qualifying tournament or to their generation, as you pronounce it. I think it's important, and so whether you want to say these first 6 games or 3 games are important or the whole qualifying is important, I think 100% they need to be able to get through this. Like, obviously, normally you're not having 3 qualifying games in a week. That's not a normal thing. But everybody's got to do it. It's just not Canada. Every other country has to do
normal
it.
world anymore.
No, it isn't.
The golden generation might be a premature tag, Steve. You're right, but I mean the footballing landscape and specifically with the national teams has been so frozen and so cold for so long that when it heats up this way, it's hard not to to leap to extremes like that. All I know is it's an exciting time, and I'm excited to watch it and hopefully go and support at it. And I mean, obviously 2026 is there in the background. We know that that's coming to the country and going to be exciting, but there's something about earning your spot in a tournament, and
right.
This would, as much as hosting will have an impact in the country, this will have a different kind of impact, and that's what I think we all long for.
If people can get to see it, of course, because all the games right now are scheduled to be on One Soccer. I still hope they can kind of come up with a deal, even not to show the whole game, but to show highlights later that day, the next day, on something like CBC. So it's a free-to-air thing, just so that people can see this golden generation and just know what an exciting team this is. You have to get that team out there onto screens. That was something I was hoping to ask Peter Montopoli, who was on the call after the Haiti game. He came on as an introduction and said, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone's got about where games might be, everything like that. And I was like, superb. And then nobody asked him a question, and they didn't get round to me to ask my question. Really pissed off at that, because that was our chance to ask so many things to him, and it didn't happen. But hopefully somewhere down the road. There's a big tournament coming up that can help Canada prepare for these World Cup qualifiers, of course. The Gold Cup is getting underway in the US in July. The preliminary 60-man roster, which is a bit excessive.
Michael, I know you're not eligible because you're not Canadian, but Steve, did you get the call? Because I thought I saw
I didn't.
on there.
No, I didn't get the call.
Okay.
I thought everyone was on there.
I think there's no point of going over who was on there because everybody was. We could mention the 2 players that weren't. That was Sam Adekugbe and Milan Borjan. Those were the 2 players that were not on the Gold Cup preliminary roster.
Which is good for them because they're going to be in preseason or beginning of their season, right?
And Sam's just got a new club, yeah. But, I mean, this is a tournament. Do you go with the strongest that you can get, or do you mix and match? Is it like AstraZeneca and Pfizer?
I really am torn on this one because I've heard the US was going for mostly MLS side. So
which might be good for the Whitecaps because we might actually have weakened opposition.
Yeah, but the thing is, the fact that the US might be a little bit weaker, now all of a sudden I want to go with a stronger club.
Yes,
because just for a chance to win,
possibly win the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not win the whole thing, but at least beat the US or potentially beat them in one of the games. But so I'm kind of torn. I really was looking for like a Group B team, like some of the players from the qualifying games that didn't play that much, and then add some other players in there. That's what I was looking for, but I'm kind of torn right now to see which way to go for them.
10 Whitecaps on that 60-man roster, Zach, and another Whitecap, Javane Brown, is on the Jamaican roster. So, like, a sixth of the roster is basically Whitecaps related, but 60-man rosters just seems ridiculous. I don't understand this at all.
Is that just like a COVID thing? Because I know before they had to submit like a 30-ish man roster. I
honestly don't know. It's baffling to me. I don't know if you can then if someone's named on this, you can then maybe call on them if you need to get call-ups or something, or
Well, because I know
look at Venezuela at Copa America.
Yeah.
And
I don't know the protocols at the Copa America, but I know the Euro. I've heard that they have like a group of players who are in a bubble, who are waiting in case players get lost to COVID or whatever. And I don't know the parameters or how long you can draw in that pool in the tournament or whatever, but it's got to be related to that, because the 60 feels kind of more than I ever remember. Or maybe it's a new thing. They just want everyone to feel appreciated, and so they bump the number up to 60.
Like, give everyone a hug.
Sam Adekugbe signed for the team that I believe finished 6th in the Turkish league last year.
So let's round this bit off. Just stick our heads on the line. Are Canada going to qualify for Qatar? And if so, is it going to be as a top 3 team, or are they going to get through in a multi-layered playoff?
I was hoping you were going to ask, are they going to qualify for the Gold Cup? And I would say yes, they are going to qualify for the Gold. But for the World Cup, I would say I find it very difficult to see them finish in the top 3, but I can definitely see them being in 4th place and playing an extra couple games.
I agree as well. And then it's just who you play, who's in form, who does it on the day.
My heart says yes, and my head is actually saying yes, that they can come top 3. Will they do that? I don't know, but I think there's a legitimate case to be made for them to be in the top 3 in CONCACAF at this moment.
Yeah, I think that if they're capable of being 4th, they're definitely capable of being a 3rd. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just saying it's going to be like, if I were to put money on it right now, I'd say 4th is the best bet.
So let's see what's in store for Canada. I'm looking forward to it. It's a feast of football we keep talking about. It certainly is for the national team. It's kicking off with the Gold Cup. I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of stuff around that. It's pretty much it for this episode of the show, but we just want to quickly finish by saying the CPL gets underway next weekend. I don't know if we'll have another show out before things get underway. You looking forward to it, guys? I am, actually.
Yeah, can't wait. I got my one soccer for another couple of weeks, and I'll be able to watch some games.
Nice. Yeah, CPL, the first 2 seasons has been a breath of fresh air. The quality has been higher than expected. I'm hoping that it will continue to progress, and I'm really excited to see season 3 get underway.
I'm enjoying Marco Bustos' photo shoots. We've heard some good photos on Twitter.
I'm hoping to have some CPL chats that I might bring out as a special midweek podcast. We'll kind of see how that goes. I might run out of time with all the other stuff that's going on. But that is it for tonight's show. Just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhiteCapsBeat.
For me, it's at Zachary M on Twitter.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. And yeah, looking forward to what's in store for Canada. Let's get it done, boys. Till next time, allez la rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.